pay less.
One claim alone saved me more than $4,000.
I've had 5 claims, and that is $3,500 that I've kept in my pocket.
So, who's going to pay for your next car repair? You or Endurance?
Whether you put 10,000 or 100,000 miles a year on your car, if it's less than 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan covers 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country. Call right now to get $300 off any plan, plus a full year of our top-tier elite benefits, a $2,000 value free. And all Endurance plans come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, but you have to act now. Call 1-866-971-0194 for a free quote. That's 1-866-971-0194.
It's a fact. 80% of your immune system is controlled by gut bacteria, and many people suffer from digestion woes. Dr. David Brownstein created Bactipro to help. This premium formula supports optimal immune health and contains 6 powerful probiotics. So try Bactipro to see if it helps you with our risk-free offer. Get 30 days of Bactipro at no cost to you. Go online now or call us toll-free today.
Iran has hit cities across Israel with a massive attack. There are rockets and drones that are hitting our schools, our homes, our synagogues. I'm Yael Eckstein of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, and we urgently need your response now to help bring emergency food, shelter, and life-saving supplies.
The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has emergency teams across the front lines of Israel's war for survival. Call now to give your gift of $45 and help provide food, shelter, and life-saving supplies. It's your prayers and gifts that give hope and comfort to Israel and the Jewish people.
The Fellowship is a Bible-believing ministry, and we desperately need tens of thousands of faithful believers to answer this call for help now.
Call, scan, or go online now to stand with Israel.
So there's a lot to talk about with regard to the NATO summit. Trump is actually pushing, as you see right there, it's underway, and hopefully they all will agree to actually spend, or at least touch, or come close to that 5% target rate that President Trump put out.
Well, it's about them defending themselves, so
Exactly.
pony up.
Exactly.
Pony up.
Totally. And that's good for us, too, here in America, because we can actually manufacture some of
The Dove has an unexpected expense. Our video switcher must be replaced. Will you prayerfully consider helping to replace this important equipment? Thank you for...
Well, that does it for us today, folks, on First Edition.
We will
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove. Right here is where it happens. And that's Jerry Bilden. That's all you need to know.
Good morning.
That's just the star of the show.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. We just dropped a notch.
You know what I get?
What?
You should have said it this way. Otherwise, what I get is, man, I love Jerry's laugh. So, I mean, that's kind of, those are the 2 emails I get.
All right. No, good.
Okay, anyway, good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. Here we are halfway through this thing, and boy, we're going to wrap up a month here.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe we're coming down to the end of June. Wow. And if you notice, the days are getting shorter.
Yes, they actually are. You're right.
Well, they are, but I really haven't noticed.
I know. You can't.
Anyway, good morning to you. A lot going on in the news. When is there not? We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. Anything special?
Well, it's National Leon Day.
Leon Day.
Yeah, of course, what do we think of when we hear this?
Oh, the great Leon Huntsley.
Absolutely, but it's not. But, we just think of Leon anyway.
You spell Leon backwards, you know what you have?
Noel.
There you go.
And that's what today's all about.
Really?
Yeah, halfway to Christmas.
Halfway to Christmas? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, enjoy that. It is also National Parchment Day, and parchment has long been part of a traditional French kitchen, but it is also widely used across the world. Parchment is a versatile kitchen tool that is a must for anyone who loves to create delicious things. And parchment, I guess, is kind of an anti-stick device, yeah? Maybe, yeah. Instead of using like oils and Pam and those spray-ons and stuff like that, which doesn't infuse other flavors into your food, so you are more of a purist, I guess, if you use parchment.
Well, but the interesting thing about parchment, when you don't use parchment, you burn your pans.
Oh, okay.
When you use parchment, your pans look nicer. Longer.
I've occasionally grabbed parchment and put it over something that I put in the microwave so it doesn't splatter around in the microwave.
Well, there you go.
But I guess a paper towel will do the same thing.
No, you know what you do?
What?
The best thing to put over your food in a microwave is one of those coffee filters.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
You take one of the coffee filter, open it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Should I knock the grounds out of it first?
Well, not for you, no. Certainly not for Steve.
All right, well, you can use your parchment to prepare your catfish, I guess, because I guess some people prepare fish in parchment. But today is National Catfish Day, celebrating the value of farm-raised catfish. And did you know? Well, a lot of people realize they are nocturnal swimmers. They don't have any scales. So their smooth flesh makes it difficult for fishermen to clean them. And in the U.S., channel catfish and blue catfish are the most commonly eaten species of catfish. And now here's a factoid for you. In 1987, President Ronald Reagan designated June 25th as National Catfish Day by presidential proclamation, after Congress called for the day to be established by Joint Resolution 178. Official business was conducted on behalf of catfish. Whoa, how about that? How do you like your catfish?
Well, have you ever had it?
Oh, yeah, blackened. I love blackened catfish.
Okay, well, they actually have catfish farms.
You're right, yeah, and this is celebrating this, yes.
And when I was going to school at Cal Poly, we went out to a catfish farm.
Yeah.
And it was the alternate, how can I say this? It was the alternate crop from rice.
Oh,
so
really?
you can grow, one season you can grow rice.
Right, and then you rotate.
Then you put the fish in there the next year.
No kidding. So it then helps the soil again?
I don't know, but that was for, commercially raised catfish.
Interesting.
Now, the other thing about catfish, you ever skin one?
I haven't, no.
You literally use pliers.
Yes, I've actually seen it, yes.
You have to use pliers to skin it.
Yes.
So, how's your appetite now?
Well, I clean a lot of fish, so I can deal with it.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that's interesting. I'm used to skinning. I'm used to taking the fillet off, flipping it over, and then taking from the tail, getting in between it.
Yeah.
Just move that fillet.
No, catfish. I won't describe it, but you use a nail.
Yeah.
And a pair of pliers.
Okay, I've seen it. Okay, now let me ask you this: have you ever watched catfish noodlers? Excuse me. They're the people that go down and they find the ledge where the catfish are hanging out.
And they reach down and put their hand in their mouth?
Right. And the catfish bite on their hand and then they pull them out?
Yeah.
Don't you love it?
Well, I've seen that. It's something you'd see on Duck Dynasty.
Exactly. Exactly.
When it's a slow day duck hunting, you go catfish noodling and you stick your hand down in there. And I've seen them do it with no gloves on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I've seen them bleed afterwards. It's like, oh, that catfish really got me, and they got blood going on there. But we got a big catfish.
Oh boy.
Oh my word.
So does catfish stingers sting?
No.
Okay. Is that a myth?
Yeah, it's a myth.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And we're not even going to mention this because we have too many these days. I don't know how it gets on the list so many times. There must be some kind of a monopoly going on, but it's, again, National Strawberry Parfait Day.
Oh, wow. It's called a lobbyist.
It's a lobbyist. That's right. We've been lobbied. Okay, here's something that is really quite good. Did you know that there was an Alaska town that had a cat as its mayor?
Oh, I heard about this.
Yes, in the snowy.
And it got reelected, didn't it?
It did. In the snowy little town of Talkeetna, a fluffy orange kitten named Stubbs was elected honorary mayor. He didn't pass laws or give speeches, but he ruled from a cozy spot on the counter of the general store, accepting belly rubs and sipping water from a wine glass for 20 years.
Really?
Townsfolk and tourists alike adored their purring politician. And though he never raised taxes, Stubbs raised plenty of smiles, because sometimes the best mayor is the one with whiskers and the one who does nothing.
Yes. The one that can't talk.
Right, the one that can't talk. And speaking of mayors, quite a little hoop-de-doo going on in New York City, huh?
Well, they had a primary election yesterday for the Democratic nominee, and somebody out of the blue.
We're trying to figure out what a socialist Muslim is.
Okay, so his name is, I forgot it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so he beats Cuomo.
Yeah.
So, but Cuomo says he's not done. So I don't know if he's going to try to do a write-in or go independent against the current mayor.
Yeah, who is going independent? Eric Adams, right?
Eric Adams, who was Democrat and had enough of that nonsense.
Well, yeah, he got indicted by Democrats.
He got beat up pretty bad.
They didn't like him very much.
Then he's going to go independent. So I don't know where Cuomo. I can't even believe Cuomo's back on the scene.
I know.
But this other person is just like a former assemblyman inside the New York legislature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going. I want to say this respectfully, so I don't mean to be one way or the other. Maybe it's just my ignorance. But how can you be a socialist Muslim?
This is the most bizarre thing I've heard yet.
I can't figure this out. I go, what?
Is he going to be embraced by AOC?
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you know? Well, I won't go there. But
well, let me ask you this: how would you advise Andrew Cuomo? I mean, the guy had issues with COVID when he started, loading up retirement homes with sick patients. He had sexual harassment allegations against him. He loses to this person who come out of the blue, and he says he's not done. How do you advise him?
Andrew, go home.
Go home.
Be thankful you're not looking at bars every morning.
You know what? That is wonderful advice. You are right on the money.
I mean, you could be looking at steel bars, and you just need to go home, go away.
Right.
Go play the underground. Apparently you did that pretty well. But
yeah, apparently
but
so.
Stay out of the public life. All right.
That's all I got for you.
Yeah, okay. Here's a guy that'll never see bars because they would never want him in there.
A look at today's weather thanks to Grange Co-op. An onshore flow will bring milder and cloudier weather to the top of our region, so cloudy skies early, gradually clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with daytime highs continuing in the mid to upper 70s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light northwest wind around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. Mostly sunny skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the upper 70s, low 80s for Prineville Bend and Sun River. Sunny and hot over in Boise, Idaho with daytime highs near 92. Patchy fog this morning along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford, near 57 in Brookings and 61 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, more sunshine for the Rogue Valley with high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s in Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny in mid 80s with a light west wind. Into Northern California, sunny in mid to upper 80s around Wairika. Sunny with high temperatures in the mid 90s for Redding and Chico and near 91 in Sacramento with a west-southwest wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny near 81 in Santa Rosa and 79 in Napa. Partly sunny in mid-60s in San Francisco, and today in San Jose, sunny with a high in the low 80s. A look at our Wednesday weather, brought to you by Grange Co-op.
Well, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. There we are. We're going to back down a little bit on the temperatures for a day or so, we'll enjoy that. But it's still very dry, so be careful out there.
A little hazy out there, isn't it?
Yeah, tad.
Yeah, not bad. All right. Well, this one I want to hear. Dr. David Jeremiah says that we can all be whosoever if we will believe.
We learn that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever. You might be saying, Pastor Jeremiah, you don't know how bad I am. You don't know how much baggage I have or how messed up I am. Doesn't make any difference. Whoever means you. There's no conditions on that word. In fact, here's a good thing for you to do. Go back and read it and put your name in there. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that if David Jeremiah would believe, he could have eternal life. That's how personal it is, how pointed it is. But we also learn the selective choice of God's love is you have to believe. Is the grace of God sufficient for everybody? Absolutely. But God doesn't just make a fiat decision, okay, I love everybody, everybody gets to go to heaven. That's not how it works. Everybody is a candidate for heaven, but you only get to go to heaven if you believe. The offer is made to everybody, but it's only received by those who place their faith in Christ. Salvation is a free gift, but a gift has to be received in order for it to matter. And if you don't receive this free gift, if you just know about it, if you just learn about it, you hear it in church, you read about it in books, but you've never personally made a decision to say, yes, I will receive that gift. If you haven't done that, then the gift is meaningless to you. And someday you'll stand before God, and he's going to say to you, why should I let you into my heaven? And you're going to have to admit, I knew about the gift. I saw the gift. It was laying right there in front of me, but I just never picked it up and unwrapped it and made it my own. Friends, I need to tell you that to get to heaven, you have to receive the gift of eternal life through Jesus Christ, our Lord. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him. And that leads us to the special promise of God's love, should not perish.
The great stumbling word, whosoever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a denominational divider.
Oh, boy. Oh, yes.
Believe me, I got emails on that one. All right, good morning to you. Good stuff all the way around. And by the way, you are whosoever, or whoever, okay?
Yeah, whichever.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. Well, first of all, the president jumped over to NATO. He spends a lot of time in Air Force One.
Yes, he does.
He jumped over to NATO for 24 hours, and he's kind of like, when he walks in the room, he's kind of like E.F. Hutton.
He's kind of taking a victory lap, isn't he?
Well, he goes to NATO on the heels of what's happening in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing about him. The secretary of the NATO alliance there highly praised him for what he did in Iran.
Yep.
And he comes to NATO, and not everybody's on board with him.
Right.
But it looks like, this is so interesting to me, because I think President Trump is a businessman before he's a politician.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's his training. That's his background.
Oh, yeah.
You guys aren't paying up enough.
Right.
You guys aren't paying your fair share. Now, he's been on this issue for quite a while. He did it through his first term.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to walk out of there with everybody paying a little more.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, I heard indications that they're going to, yeah.
Yeah, they all agreed to pay a little more.
Yeah.
So basically what he was saying is that, we were paying everything, and you guys are along for a ride. Why should we support your defense?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, this is going to, if they pay a little more and all this is going on, this is going to probably send Putin a message.
Oh, yeah.
And this is something that's yet to come out. They have to be strong here. They have got to be together, because Putin is knocking on their door with the Ukraine issue. So we'll see where this goes.
No, it's interesting too, because they said that basically he has made the world safer by his latest actions in the Middle East.
Yeah, I'll come to this a little bit later on. But boy, the news coverage yesterday on a couple of the other channels.
Mm-hmm.
Accusing him of, I shouldn't say accusing him, making the statement. You kind of wonder if this is treasonous, but they were making the statement that the Fordo attack was not successful.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
And I'm going, how in the world can you back this up?
Yeah. And
they didn't let up for hours. It was headlined for hours.
Did you hear ex-Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, what he said?
Yeah.
All Trump has done is poured fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
These people are so out of touch.
Well, look, I will leave a little room here They have not been on the ground to do an assessment yet.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
okay, but all indications are, intelligence being what it is. Okay, so that's part of it. All right, in the meantime, does this emerge as something, a new term? The Trump doctrine.
Oh, wow.
What is the Trump doctrine? Well, Vice President Vance said this about the Trump doctrine.
What I call the Trump doctrine is quite simple. Number one, you articulate a clear American interest, and that's, in this case, that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Number two, you try to aggressively, diplomatically solve that problem. And number three, when you can't solve it diplomatically, you use overwhelming military power to solve it, and then you get the hell out of there before it ever becomes a protracted conflict. That is the Trump doctrine. And to the Americans who are worried about this becoming a protracted conflict, I think the president solved that very quickly. Not only did we destroy the Iranian nuclear program, we did it with 0 American casualties, and that's what happens when you've got strong American leadership.
So is this going to be literally go down in history as the Trump doctrine? Those 3 points.
Boy, it may be. Yeah.
You know, pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't mean to get off topic, but I got to ask you something.
Okay,
we just saw Vice President J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
And we see, especially when the president came up, made his statement the other day from the White House, we see them flanked on his edges. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, we see the Vice President J.D. Vance, and we know that Donald Trump really is a lame duck president, although he doesn't act like one at all. But he's got himself with this circle of insiders and these people who serve, and we wonder who's next. And we watch J.D. Vance actively involved. We watch Marco Rubio actively involved. Is there any kind of gamesmanship going on? Is there any positioning going on? Do we know, how this is even being indicated, how it's going to be played out in the next step?
I'm just surprised we're thinking about this so early in the game.
Right.
The only thing I can think of is, to your point, is the president seems to be equally touting 3 people. The Vice President, Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, yes.
And wherever he goes, those 3 are with him. Now, that could be just good management strategy. They are department heads. They are secretaries of various and very significant things.
Yeah.
So that could be part of it. And I think the other thing is, by keeping them close, he's keeping the narrative under control. When the secretaries aren't close to him, they have a tendency to say something that he doesn't like because it didn't go through his filter.
That is so true.
So you keep him close to you. All right. So to your point, I don't know. I do say this, that every time that subject comes up before the president, he's quickly to get out of it.
Oh, good. As he should.
He doesn't lean towards any one of those 3.
Good.
Because he was asked directly, do you think J.D. Vance is your successor? And
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he just gets away from it.
Good for him. All right.
Besides,
No, I'm the boss now.
Well,
we'll talk about that later.
I just thought I'd write your name in.
Moving on.
You're kind of like Cuomo. You keep popping up everywhere.
Oh, no. I hope it's not on lists to be investigated.
Okay, well, in the meantime, the Democrats still want to impeach the president over what he's done in Iran. But a big problem. Yesterday, 128 Democrats came out and joined the DOP and said, no, we're not going to do this.
Hot dog. There's Al Green.
So you got Al Green and you have Marjorie Green.
Oh, yeah, and AOC was in it, wasn't she?
Well, AOC, but Marjorie Green is what they call, she's part of the MAGA group that doesn't like what he's done.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because she thinks that ends up in a protracted war. So she's way over there, okay. But AOC and all, the squad.
The squad, yeah.
Okay, and then, but 128 Democrats said to their colleagues, that group over there, take a hike.
Yeah.
So impeachment's not going to go anywhere.
Right, and kind of, the president kind of scoffed at it. He says, you've already done that twice.
Some of the things that he talks about, people's intelligence.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, it's kind of like watching Senator Kennedy waiting for his one-liner to come out.
Right. Oh,
you just don't. Something's going to be said. Right. You just don't know what it is.
Right, and it's going to be perfect.
It's going to be perfect.
Yes.
All right. So in the meantime, President Putin calls President Trump, say, hey, can I help you with Iran?
In what way?
Yeah, in what way? So you know what President Trump told President Putin?
What?
Get out of your own war.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
yes, perfect.
Can you? I'm going, well, duh. Why'd you even make the phone call?
Right.
Well, and besides, what are you suggesting?
Yeah.
Were you going to try to barter a peace agreement?
Right.
But the president said to Vladimir, just get out of your own war.
Yeah.
That kind of put him in his place.
Yeah, I say.
All right. Besant, who is the Secretary of the Treasury, he thinks the big bill, the big, beautiful bill, with all of its controversy, here's what he thinks about it.
I had a very successful lunch meeting with the senators. I think that we are on track for hopefully for a vote this Friday for July 4th for the tax bill. President is doing peace deals, tax deals, trade deals, so he's done a peace deal. I think we'd have the tax deal done by July 4th, and then we can finish with the trade deals.
So I think the big beautiful bill, as controversial as it is, and you see more and hear more about it, both sides back and forth. There's an element to the bill that, quite frankly, was brilliant, and that the purpose of the bill, the fundamental purpose of the bill, is to retain the tax cuts that were implemented in the first Trump administration, and to take them and not extend them, but to make them permanent. Okay. It also does not tax Social Security, does not tax overtime, and does not tax tips. Now, woven into this is all this other stuff, okay? The old saying is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And this is a first small bite at the elephant, okay? And everybody loves cutting government until it cuts them.
Yeah.
And then they get a little nervous about it. Okay. Well, anyway, we're going to go skin some catfish. We'll be right back.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why McKelly's is automotive service with a heart for God and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond. But that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Range Co-op, where big ideas grow.
Nick Shakur of the Chosen TV series shares stories of his childhood.
I was born in Beirut, Lebanon, and she told me, she said, I was in labor for 3 days with you while bombing.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Wednesday to you as we move on down the week here to end up June and start July. It's hard to believe next Friday is 4th of July. Wow. A lot going on there. All right, I have some very sad news.
Uh-oh.
So get out the Kleenex and the hankies.
All right.
But apparently McDonald's and Krispy Kreme are divorcing. Sorry about that. I know. Krispy Kreme is talking about pausing its planned rollout of selling their donuts at McDonald's. Apparently there's not enough money involved.
Really?
Yeah.
For McDonald's?
I would think for them, because they would be a supplier.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
And knowing McDonald's, they have the power of saying, yeah, we have these 60 million locations you can sell them at, but we want to only pay, 3 cents a donut.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay. All right. It's the art of the deal.
It's the art of the deal.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this goes, but apparently a divorce could happen before the marriage occurred. I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you. Now, let's talk about Krispy Kreme for a minute. Have you ever walked into a Krispy Kreme when they're coming out of the... Is that the most unbelievable experience you can ever have?
Well, I've only been to the
donut?
one, and what is it? I mean, they have found the niche. We always thought it was the normal glazed donut.
Right.
But they actually improved that to a point where they're just absolutely melt in your mouth.
Right, especially as they come fresh off of that roller device. It's like, we did that, first time I ever did that, we went and sat down. I actually ate myself into a food coma.
Did you?
It was just unbelievable.
Well, there's something about them. They have a corner on the market. And I would ask the question, do you really need McDonald's?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
So I have a little thought for Krispy Kreme. Okay. Now, in competition being what it is, entrepreneurialism being what it is, just become a Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, there you go.
Get your own brand of coffee.
Yeah.
And open up these little drive-through kiosks. Work with maybe Human Being or somebody.
Yeah. Okay.
And just make that combination there.
Why not? Yeah.
And you got to retain quality control.
Yeah.
But you could almost have your own coffee kiosk and just buy coffee from somebody else,
Yes. Okay, and let me ask you this. Where is the closest Krispy Kreme location to us?
I think, it was Portland. I think there's one in Eugene now.
Okay, so they're not really fresh when we get them.
Well, isn't it interesting? Have you seen the Krispy Kreme fundraisers down here?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So, some van goes up there, loads them up,
hauls them down,
brings them down here, and sells them for $9,000. But anyway, apparently this little love affair is not going to work out. So
too bad.
Anyway, all right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going on with the weather out there: severe clear, and a little bit of a cooling trend. We'll actually back down a few degrees. So you know what? This is absolutely perfect weather.
Yeah, what's wrong with low to mid 80s?
Nothing.
Yeah, looks good.
Might be a little warm for 4th, but hey, the 4th being what it is. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're all eyes are on NATO right now, and on Newsmax's Wake Up America, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark discusses the mounting disadvantage Iran has against powers in the Middle East and if regime change might be on the table.
Now, the problem now is what's next? And what we're seeing this morning from the Israeli strikes is what's next is regime change. And honestly, this is what is needed. The president didn't want to say it out loud. It does complicate negotiations. It may not happen, but the Iranians now are faced with the reality that they're up against superior military power that's directed against them. And no holds barred on this. The missiles that they're shooting are under attack. The nuclear arsenal that they were trying to prepare is at least delayed, maybe permanently destroyed. There's a lot of combat power massed in the region against them. And the Iranians have to decide, will they retaliate? Will they renounce their desire to destroy Israel and attack the United States? If they don't do this, if they do retaliate, more military pressure, the Israelis with the United States will have escalation dominance, and then it's just a matter of time. The Iranian regime either breaks or is replaced by smarter people inside Iran who see the writing on the wall and say, this is foolish. Let's get out of it.
Okay. Well, look, you need 30,000-foot views like that.
Yeah.
I think we get so tied up in the moment that we don't see the big picture. And he's absolutely right. So this thing's on a timeline.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But I thought the irresponsibility of the reporting of CNN yesterday was, it was stunning. And you know what's interesting about these people that are trying to just make the president look bad at any cost?
Yeah.
That's the only issue they have, make the president look bad at any cost.
Right,
They don't report on anything else.
Yeah. Yep.
And they were reporting that it was basically a failure and that the nuclear program's only been delayed by a couple of months.
Right.
I don't know what you do with this. But it's the power of influence. I think the main thing we need to understand from our position as broadcasters, the power of influence.
Yeah, yeah.
And with that comes responsibility.
Sure.
You know, but when it's agenda-driven, oh, my stars.
No, yeah. But, boy, the president's not shy in speaking out against it, is he?
Well, let's see what happens. Okay. I think everybody needs some crispy donuts today with a catfish sandwich. We'll be right back.
Looking for the perfect RV adventure?
Team Toner's got you covered from homes to homes on wheels.
Discover unbeatable deals only at American RV in Southern Oregon.
Go where the wild runs deep. At Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, you feel the power of the mighty Rogue River as you take in the sights and sounds of nature, journey through Hellgate Canyon, and adventure through the breathtaking wilderness. Enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, and end your adventure with our exciting jetboat spins. It's a memory in the making with family and friends. Book your adventure at Hellgate.com. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Cliff Connectley travels across America to give an answer to questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
So one of the reasons I believe that God exists.
Join him for Give Me an Answer, weekdays on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Wednesday, and a lot going on in the news. As you can imagine, the president went to NATO for 24 hours. You know, we've got a mayoral primary going on in New York City. Who's going to be the next mayor?
Yeah.
Do you have to be a citizen to be a mayor?
Are you implying something here?
I was going to send you back there.
Well, you know, it's interesting that some of those living situations. I think of our own Senator Ron Wyden.
Yeah. Well, maybe he could run.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I don't know.
You know, I was thinking of Rudy Giuliani when he ran and he was mayor.
Yeah.
Now, he's a very high-profile, very controversial figure.
Yes.
But when he was mayor, he cleaned up the city.
He absolutely cleaned it up. And I can tell you there's a vast difference because I saw Times Square and a whole bunch of the system in New York City during the late 70s and 80s. And when he came in, he changed it like that.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, he concentrated on the city, not other political agendas.
Right.
He really was a good mayor. And then he was there for 9/11.
Right, yeah. Say what you want about Rudy Giuliani. He did the job.
He did the job.
Yeah.
He did what he was hired to do.
Yes, he did.
Well, all right. In the meantime, the Middle East is very unstable, so let's check in with CBN Newswatch and get caught up.
This is CBN News Watch.
It is Wednesday, June 25th, going to begin this half hour with the aftermath of the U.S. military strike on Iran's nuclear program. The Trump administration is pushing back strongly against reports saying the attacks only set Iran back a few months, saying the damage was severe. For now, the ceasefire between Israel and Iran seems to be holding a day after Iranian missile attacks on Israel. Chris Mitchell brings us the story now. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
In Washington, the State Department is optimistic the ceasefire will hold.
There was some activity back and forth, and that has stopped, and the ceasefire has taken effect, and the president is pleased.
In central Tehran, thousands remain defiant, shouting death to Israel and death to America.
We don't approve of the ceasefire at all. We will continue fighting until we are either martyred or win. God willing, Iran will eventually own a nuclear bomb.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu assessed the impact of Operation Rising Lion.
For dozens of years, I promised you that Iran would not have nuclear weapons. Therefore, with all the actions that our fighters have taken, we brought to ruin Iran's nuclear program. And if anyone in Iran tries to revive this project, we will act with the same determination and the same strength to put an end to any such attempt. I repeat, Iran will not have nuclear weapons.
President Trump emphasized to reporters the U.S. and Israel stopped Iran's nuclear program.
They're not going to have enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. The last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
However, the head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization announced it has begun building a new uranium enrichment facility and said of the regime's nuclear program, "Our plan is not to allow any interruption." The White House also slammed a report by CNN and other media outlets that a preliminary U.S. intelligence assessment claims the attacks did not destroy Iran's nuclear program, but only set it back a few months. Caroline Levitt posted, "The alleged assessment is flat out wrong. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets. Total obliteration." With the ceasefire holding, Israel is turning its attention back to the war in Gaza. The IDF announced 7 soldiers were killed in a Hamas attack on an armored personnel carrier. Also, the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is asking the UN to stop fighting its effort to feed Gaza's civilians and condemn Hamas's killing of several of its humanitarian workers 2 weeks ago. GHF Chairman Reverend Johnny Moore wrote to the UN, "Silence in the face of such violence is not impartiality or neutrality, it is abandonment." In just a few weeks, the GHF has distributed more than 40 million meals to hungry Gazans.
And our CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell continues our coverage now. So, Chris, the Trump administration is blasting the leak, saying the United States strike only set the Iranian program back a few months. Israel seems to disagree as well. How confident is Israel the damage to Iran's nuclear program was severe?
Well, according to President Trump, Ephraim, actually, they had Israelis actually went into Fordo, and they described what they saw, what they reported as total obliteration and a devastating attack, which obviously contradicts what CNN and other media reports had said. That's very critical because the U.S. invested a lot of its military efforts to hit Fordo. That was the one uranium site that really Israel didn't have the munitions for. They didn't have the B-2 bombers. And so, according to President Trump and to Israeli boots on the ground, apparently, and maybe some of these Mossad agents that went in there to report that actually it was the obliteration that Caroline Levitt said, as well as President Trump.
So, Chris, if Iran does rebuild its nuclear program, would Israel or the United States strike again? What do you think?
Well, again, President Trump was asked that question, and perhaps some people believe this may be his most important statement since the fire. The question was, if Iran does rebuild its uranium enrichment facilities, would the U.S. strike? And he said yes. And it really does seem that Iran is determined, even just a couple of days after the 12-day war,
that they want to continue their nuclear enrichment. You saw that lady in Tehran actually saying they do want a nuclear weapon. Iran's foreign minister said no one in Iran has given up on the nuclear program. So there is a deep concern that Iran will simply repair its nuclear facilities, accelerate its nuclear program, perhaps even to weaponization. And the question continues to remain, Ephraim, where is that enriched uranium? About 1,400 pounds of enriched uranium, up to 60% enrichment. That's just one step away from weapons-grade uranium. So that's a very important question. And also, it seems like Iran hasn't given up on its nuclear ambitions.
Well, we'll see. If Israelis really got in there and took a look and said it was pretty much gone, then that is one thing. But this may end up being some kind of a regime change. And the question is how you go about this so that it sets the country up for a citizen revolution.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, and a revolution suggests, is there's still a lot of people that are converted to the Ayatollah, as you saw there in some of those demonstrations. Would they acquiesce to freedom?
Oh, yeah.
Or would they stay strong to their so-called convictions and want to kill everybody? So I don't know. I mean, a regime change is one thing. Does it spark something else? I think you asked a question yesterday. Does it open the door for the wrong leader to return?
Right, because we see that happen. So yeah, it's a definite possibility.
Yeah, really crazy. All right, the weather is simply nice. Go fishing.
A look at today's weather thanks to Grange Co-op. An onshore flow will bring milder and cloudier weather to the top of our region, so cloudy skies early, gradually clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with daytime highs continuing in the mid to upper 70s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light northwest wind around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. Mostly sunny skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the upper 70s, low 80s for Prineville Bend and Sun River. Sunny and hot over in Boise, Idaho with daytime highs near 92. Patchy fog this morning along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford, near 57 in Brookings and 61 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, more sunshine for the Rogue Valley with high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s in Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny in mid 80s with a light west wind. Into Northern California, sunny in mid to upper 80s around Wairika. Sunny with high temperatures in the mid 90s for Redding and Chico and near 91 in Sacramento with a west-southwest wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny near 81 in Santa Rosa and 79 in Napa. Partly sunny in mid-60s in San Francisco, and today in San Jose, sunny with a high in the low 80s. A look at our Wednesday weather, brought to you by Grange Co-op.
All right, and there it is. That beautiful picture is brought to you by the camera up on the east side of the hill. And it's pretty nice. A little bit of a shadow there, but a nice day in the neighborhood.
Well, there are 63 regional clubs for those who love this particular brand of cars, even though the last one rolled off the assembly line in Detroit on this day in history.
Ooh.
On June 25th, 1956, the last true Packard, once America's premier luxury car, rolled off the Detroit assembly line. Founded by brothers James and William Packard in 1899, the company quickly rose to fame with innovative models like the Grey Wolf and the Twin Six, featuring a revolutionary V12 engine. Packard wasn't just about performance, it symbolized craftsmanship with its square, elegant body and meticulous detailing. During World War I, the Twin Six even helped power aircraft. But by the 1930s, competition from Cadillac and shifting tastes pushed Packard to diversify. Post-World War II, it struggled to keep up. A merger with Studebaker in the 1950s offered a lifeline, but it wasn't enough. On that June day in 1956, production stopped in Detroit. Though cars continued briefly in Indiana, that was the end of the true Packard, forever remembered by its iconic slogan, "Ask the man who owns one."
I didn't know a lot about Packard. I remember seeing a few on the road still, because, again, they closed down in '56. But it was referred to as the American Rolls-Royce. And it was also mentioned that the richest guy in town always had a Packard.
Well, I tell you, you go back to some of the early models. Wow.
Oh, they're fabulous.
Just beautiful.
The styling on them, the attention to detail, the innovations in the engine. I mean, they were fast.
I'd almost put them in the Bentley class.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, Charlie Kirk, one of the great, really, apologists of our day and witnesses of our day out there, and he was on Newsmax talking about the president's post on Truth Social about regime change, and here's his thoughts on it.
It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be regime change? And to me, Charlie, that message was meant for one person, the supreme leader of Iran, and the message is, make a deal now, or maybe we start shopping for a new supreme leader.
Well, two thoughts on this. Number one, I defended that Truth Social as soon as it came up because I believe it was about bottom-up, Persian-led regime change from the people. But now that I look back at it, we have to understand there is a deeper brilliance and genius behind this Truth Social, which is that President Trump was able to threaten without threatening the supreme leader, and no U.S. troops died in the Iranian very weak response. It worked, because in the back of their head, they say, oh boy, President Trump is talking about regime change. Oh boy, President Trump is talking about this. Maybe we should just fire 10 rockets and give Qatar a heads up. 0 U.S. troops died. Can I just repeat that for everybody? 0 U.S. troops died. Only President Trump was able to pull that off. And the media is completely ignoring it. And it might partially be because of that message that President Trump sent out about regime change. And again, we support the Persian people's right to self-determination and self-governance. Nobody wants another Libya or John Bolton or Hillary Clinton 2.0. But what President Trump said in that Truth Social, more than what anybody would have thought, it worked. No nukes, no troops on the ground, no U.S. troops harmed. Phenomenal statement there of using rhetoric for the betterment of our country and the Western world.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
He not only defends the gospel, he defends public policy.
And he's good at it.
Yeah, good at it. All right, we'll take a catfish break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
Tackling the tough issues facing America and our nation's freedom. That's Sekalo on the Dove TV.
DAs around the country finding who they want to prosecute.
A bold half hour hosted by ACLJ's Jordan and Logan Sekalo, taking you inside the battle of constitutional and political freedom, discussing issues that matter to you and your family.
No one that should or want to run for president will end up running for president.
Be in the know with Sekalo on the Dove TV.
Well, sorry about that. Happy Wednesday to you. Did we have anything else besides catfish?
Yeah, we had the parfaits.
Oh, the parfaits.
Again, yeah. But that's okay. They're good.
Yeah, they're good. Okay. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Wednesdays. We head down the week, and looks like will the ceasefire got off to a bump start. Mm-hmm. There's still a little bit of exchange. The president got a little hot-headed about it.
Yeah, he apparently even called back some Israeli jets. He said, "Turn them around now. Don't drop your bombs."
Tell your pilots to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was kind of interesting. Well, it seems to be holding right now.
Yeah.
It seems to be holding. What does that mean? I don't know. Lori Cardozo-Moore, she has proclaimed justice to the nation. Primarily one of her big passions is Israel. And so I asked her, do you think the ceasefire is sustainable? We'll see. Here's what she had to say.
This is a miraculous thing that happened. Thank God that President Trump was in office, that he's the president, the commander-in-chief under these circumstances. But it's a miracle. It's Gog and Magog. You know me, Perry. I'm going to look at everything that happens in the Middle East and in Israel specifically from a biblical lens. And to see, because God said in Ezekiel 38, he's going to put a hook in the jaw of Gog and Magog and drag them down into a battle because of what they have done to Israel and to our Jewish brethren. So it's a miraculous time. It was a huge victory for Israel. It's a huge victory for President Trump. And despite the little skirmishes going on this morning, we're living to be part of this amazing time in history. And I count it an honor that God would bring us into this place for such a time as this, especially to stand with Israel. I have a statement from the Prime Minister's office, and the Prime Minister, there's a lot of misinformation that's out there right now. And I'm sure that President, once he gets done with NATO, he's going to get all the facts of what's going on and who did what. But the Prime Minister's office put out a statement stating that the ceasefire was set for 7 a.m. this morning. And at 3 a.m., Israel forcefully attacked in the heart of Tehran, struck regime targets, and eliminated hundreds of Baas and Iranian security forces. It was shortly before the ceasefire was due to take effect, Iran launched a barrage of missiles, one of which took the lives of 4 citizens in Beersheba. So that's just a tip of the iceberg. I don't want to go into the whole, but I wanted everybody to hear what is actually going on, because all of the naysayers, the other half of the MAGA movement, who is against defending Israel, against supporting Israel, against what Trump did in trying to bring this to a conclusion, it's going to be difficult because we saw with Hamas, we saw with the Houthis, we've seen with Hezbollah that even though a ceasefire goes into effect, it's never respected. They always counter. It's always tit for tat. And President Trump has a right to be upset about what's going on. So God willing, this is all going to get sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah.
The ceasefire seems to be holding at the moment. So, but the strategy and the strategizing is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I don't know, how you feel about this. I have a feeling this ceasefire is going to stick. I don't think Iran's got the wherewithal for anything else.
Unless they're being supplied.
Yeah, who would do that? Like China or something? Or
they're flying 747s in there. We don't know what's on.
That's a good point.
We don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
It's more than Krispy Kremes.
Or pallets full of money.
There you go. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, well.
Well, we got some great guests coming up, so stick around for conversation later.
All right. Well, guess what? It's boating season. You know how I know that?
You got one.
Well, yeah, and it's sitting at home as I watch all the others going up the road as I'm coming to work.
I know.
So I know it's boating season.
So you want me to change your schedule to
noon
to 3?
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. All right. But here is a look at one of the tastiest boats you'll ever see.
Meet Connor Sonnenberg, the Ohio native who has captured hearts and headlines after cruising around Lake Erie in what might be the most delicious-looking watercraft ever, a fully functioning hot dog boat. And this isn't just a novelty float, it's a custom one-seater vessel that can hit speeds of up to 24 miles per hour, drawing stunned stares and delighted laughter from onlookers wherever it goes. He found the hot dog boat, which was built in 1975, in storage, and he knew he had to buy it and now has plans to do a full restoration. Videos of Connor zooming across the lake in his hot dog quickly went viral over the weekend, with people sharing clips across social media. It's hard not to smile watching a giant hot dog glide through open water like it's the most normal thing in the world. The attention has also brought official interest. Ohio's Parks and Recreation officials have already reached out, and Connor hopes to bring his hot dog boat to major boat shows across the state. Even more exciting, a partnership is in the works with the iconic Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, the most famous land-based hot dog on wheels. If all goes well, we may soon see the greatest hot dog vehicle duo in history, with one pulling the other up to the boat ramp. For now, Connor's boat is proof that summer fun and creative spirit are alive and well, and sometimes shaped like your favorite ballpark snack.
Okay, that is cool. You know, he better copyright it.
Yeah,
real quick.
That's a good one.
Did you see the scene there where he flipped it up and he had a barbecue in there?
Yes. I love it.
And mustard stacked around on there. Oh, good stuff. All right, 1 John 4:19. Powerful word. We love. Why? Because he first loved us. Good word for you today.
Since 1987, Four Seasons Nursery has been the gold standard in the green industry here in Southern Oregon. Tim Albert and his friendly staff continue to offer the best plants and most accurate knowledge to create your dream landscape. At Four Seasons Nursery on Crater Lake Avenue, you can let your imagination run wild with a huge selection of all things plant and gardening for both inside and outside beautification. Whether it's a flower for your windowsill, one of our beautifully renowned signature hanging baskets, or a complete landscape design for your entire property, Four Seasons Nursery can help you every step of the way with design services, workshops, and more. Let your imagination run wild as you immerse yourself in their nursery filled with beauty that knows no bounds. Four Seasons Nursery, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 5736 Crater Lake Avenue, 1/2 mile north of Vilas Road, 541-779-5603, 541-779-5603. Clean water is essential to your good health. Ultra Pure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family run, Ultra Pure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Transformed is a groundbreaking series that every week takes you behind closed doors to witness biblical counseling with real people facing real issues. Watch Mondays and Thursdays only on theDove TV. It takes time to ask questions and understand. Focus Today does just that. We give you an hour so you can understand better.
All right. Good morning to you. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove on this Wednesday morning, and happy, beautiful weather.
Yeah.
As we wrap up June, and that is Jerry Building right there. And for those who are watching on the Dove radio, you see him the same way you see him on radio.
You're getting the best view of him, actually.
Yeah.
Good morning.
He has a face for radio.
There you go.
Anyway, good morning to you. A lot going on in the news. There always is. We'll keep you posted. Try to highlight some of things for you. The weather is absolutely gorgeous. They had a primary mayoral race in New York, and the winner is, I can't even say his name.
I can't either. All we know is he's a socialist Muslim, and we're trying to figure out what that is.
I can't. It seems like to be an oxymoron.
Yeah, very bizarre. And, of course, knocking Andrew Cuomo out of the race.
Yeah. Which, Andy, you need to go away. You need to go fishing or something.
He's had plenty of troubles. He just refuses to leave.
Well, you ought to be thankful he's not looking through bars.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Interesting guy.
Yeah.
That interesting family. But anyway, so we'll see how that plays out. That's some of the news. The president's at NATO, should be heading back, or could even be back by now. I think he spends more time in the Air Force One bed than he does his own.
I think you're right.
So, anyway.
And do you think he sleeps up there?
Yeah. There was a picture of him one time when he wasn't president.
Okay.
And he allowed some media guys to come with him on his Trump Force One.
Yes. Yeah.
It's 757. And he was going to Europe. And he talked to him, and he said good night, and he went into the bedroom.
And that was it?
That was it. He slept in there, in his gold bed. I don't know. That was a tongue-in-cheeker. Anyway, good morning to you. Happy Wednesday. What's going on?
I think of that, and I think, no Kings movement.
There we go.
That's funny. All right, it is National Leon Day. And, of course, for some of us, that just takes us right back to Leon Hunsaker.
Yeah, but if you spell his name backwards,
it is Noel.
There you go.
And that is what this is all about, because this is our halfway point to the holiday season, to Christmas. So this marks the day that crafters begin planning their homemade gifts and decorations for the holiday season. It also can be a day for those who miss the winter holidays to have a mini winter celebration in June. Well, I'm one of those. I like that kind of stuff.
There you go.
I'm a winter nut. But I didn't think about the crafters. You have to have time to start prepping all your gifts and getting it all together. So, we're halfway there.
Well, I'll tell you what. Have you gone in some of the stores?
What?
They're all ready with fall, Halloween, and Christmas stuff coming in.
Oh, give me a break.
So I was talking to a major retail buyer who buys for, I think it was Walmart, if I remember right. I met them at a deal. And they bought Christmas for this year in October of last year.
Oh, wow. Oh, good. They're beating all the tariffs then.
Well, there you go. Didn't think about that.
That's good.
You can buy the string of lights, but it's an extra $10.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
There you go.
All right. Well, enjoy your Leon Day. Also, it is National Parchment Paper Day. And parchment has long been a part of traditional French kitchen cooking and also widely used across the world. I think most of us think of parchment, it's an anti-stick device, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it allows you to cook your foods and retain their original flavors instead of bringing in others by greasing the pan or spraying that stuff that I love the name of called Pam. On the anti-stick stuff. So parchment paper, I guess, for a lot of people.
You can cook in it.
Yeah. Do you cook anything? Do you have a dish or two, something that you're a specialty at that maybe Peggy doesn't come near? Well, I bet you do. I'll bet you do the fish. Or how about the grill?
Well, I'm the barbecue.
Oh, okay.
It begins and ends there. So I go from there to the sink to do the dishes.
Enough said. Okay, moving on. Enjoy your parchment day and have some catfish while you're doing it. Some people, I guess, use parchment to prepare their catfish. Celebrating the value of farm-raised catfish. Catfish are named for their prominent barbels, which resemble cat whiskers and which don't sting you. These nocturnal swimmers don't have any scale, so their smooth flesh makes it difficult for fishermen to clean. In the U.S., channel catfish and blue catfish are the most commonly eaten species of catfish. And in 1987, this day came to us because of President Ronald Reagan. He designated June 25th as National Catfish Day by presidential proclamation after Congress called for the day to be established by Joint Resolution 178. What inspired this? Why were they pushing catfish on this day in 1987?
Was there a catfish shortage?
I don't know. I don't know. I think one of the most entertaining aspects of catfish fishing is actually catfish noodling. They go down. You see these people go underwater. They're never in like scuba gear or anything. They're like in their street clothes a lot of times. They get in and they go down under an embankment next to the side of the river or the lake or whatever, and they shove their arm into little crevices and nooks and crannies. And then if there's a catfish in there, the catfish bites their arm, and then they pull it out and they hold it up and yeehaw!
And they're big.
And they're big.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's something you'd see on Duck Dynasty.
Absolutely.
On a slow duck day.
There's no ducks flying today.
No,
Okay,
let's go.
Let's go noodling.
Let's go noodling.
Okay. All right. One other little something to eat. We can have a dessert. It comes to us. I don't know. Is there a lobby for parfaits or something because it's National Strawberry Parfait Day again?
Okay. Well, yeah.
Again.
Lobbying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's good. So if you are so inclined, enjoy. But I want to talk about perhaps one of the most interesting mayors in the history of U.S. cities. Did you realize that there was an Alaska town that had a cat for a mayor for a long time?
Yes, and it keeps getting reelected.
It did, yes, until it died. And in the snowy little town of Talkeetna in Alaska, a fluffy orange kitten named Stubbs was elected honorary mayor. He didn't pass any laws or give speeches. He ruled from a cozy spot on the counter of the general store, accepting belly rubs and sipping water from a wine glass. I like that. For 20 years, townsfolk and tourists alike adopted and adored their purring politician, and though he never raised taxes, Stubb raised plenty of smiles because sometimes the best mayor is one with whiskers and who does very little.
Well, that's kind of like let's get more Stubbs on the ballot.
Yes.
Maybe we had a runner for mayor in New York.
Oh boy, yes.
Let's do a Stubbs write-in.
Right. I think the progressive left, would be better off with Stubbs than with what they grabbed. So yeah, that's a good suggestion.
All right. Good morning to you. 8 minutes past the hour. Speaking of noodling.
A look at today's weather thanks to Grange Co-op. An onshore flow will bring milder and cloudier weather to the top of our region, so cloudy skies early, gradually clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with daytime highs continuing in the mid to upper 70s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light northwest wind around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. Mostly sunny skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the upper 70s, low 80s for Prineville Bend and Sun River. Sunny and hot over in Boise, Idaho with daytime highs near 92. Patchy fog this morning along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford, near 57 in Brookings and 61 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, more sunshine for the Rogue Valley with high temperatures in the mid-upper 80s in Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny in mid-80s with a light west wind. Into Northern California, sunny in mid-upper 80s around Wairika. Sunny with high temperatures in the mid-90s for Redding and Chico and near 91 in Sacramento with a west-southwest wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny near 81 in Santa Rosa and 79 in Napa. Partly sunny in mid-60s in San Francisco, and today in San Jose, sunny with a high in the low 80s. A look at our Wednesday weather, brought to you by Grange Co-op.
All right, a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Look at that little bit of a haze, but not much. And beautiful skies, but all that beautiful green is now beautiful brown. Mm-hmm. So be careful out there.
Yeah, be careful. Well, here's Dr. David Jeremiah with a look at what happens when you first put your faith in Christ.
Let me tell you something important about everlasting life. It doesn't begin when you die. I've heard people say, and even I see it on tombstones. Born such and such a time, entered into everlasting life and the day of their death. That's not biblical. The Bible says the moment you believe in Jesus Christ, everlasting life starts. Everlasting life begins. It doesn't begin when we die. It begins the moment we receive Jesus Christ. And the biblical concept of eternal life isn't merely about the duration of life, it's about the quality of life. Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Everlasting life is everyday life elevated to a whole new level. The day you trust Jesus Christ as your Savior is the day you begin living in the dimension of everlasting life. You are born again. If anyone is in Christ, he's a new creature. When we die, we shift into overdrive. We go on living without interruption with the Lord. So if you're looking to find some satisfying quality of life apart from God, you're on a mission that can never, ever happen. If you're trying to cram a lot of experiences into the empty space in your heart, it won't work. If you're seeking more pleasures to deaden your pain, forget it. What you really are looking for is the kind of life the Bible describes as abundant, eternal, everlasting life.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Beautiful. Good stuff. All right, good morning to you. 11 minutes past the hour. Taking a look at some of the top stories on this Wednesday morning. The president was in NATO, participate there with the NATO alliance, and in the Netherlands, Royal Palace. And there he is with the group shot. It looks like the president walks away with a couple of more wins. Number one, the Secretary General of the NATO alliance praised him highly for the action in Iran. Yeah. Some of the attendants didn't, but for the most part, they are holding together for a strong reason, and that is not knowing what Russia's going to do with Ukraine. And the president walked away with another win, and that is he's getting the increased participation from the area of the other nations to pay their way with NATO.
And you know who's in the shadows at this gathering? Zelensky.
Yeah.
He's hoping and working to try to get in, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know where this goes. You know what? Personal opinion based on nothing.
Okay.
I think Ukraine would be allowed in the NATO if Zelensky wasn't president.
Oh, that's an interesting twist. I'd never thought about that.
They can't trust him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, but don't get me wrong. He's doing the best that he can with what he's been given. But the history behind it is a little gray.
Yeah.
But anyway, the president's on his way back. All right. Well, in the meantime, sometimes presidents, with their actions, end up creating a thing called the doctrine. You could probably look back at the Eisenhower doctrine.
Sure, or the Monroe doctrine.
Or the Monroe doctrine.
Spurred our push west.
So is there a Trump doctrine? Vice President Vance says yes, and here it is.
What I call the Trump doctrine is quite simple. Number one, you articulate a clear American interest, and that's, in this case, that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Number two, you try to aggressively, diplomatically solve that problem. And number three, when you can't solve it diplomatically, you use overwhelming military power to solve it, and then you get the hell out of there before it ever becomes a protracted conflict. That is the Trump doctrine. And to the Americans who are worried about this becoming a protracted conflict, I think the president solved that very quickly. Not only did we destroy the Iranian nuclear program, we did it with 0 American casualties, and that's what happens when you've got strong American leadership.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, CNN was floating that the damage to Fordo was not as significant. It only set the nuclear program back a little bit.
Right.
And that was their headlines most of the day yesterday, and it was really amazing. I can't even believe they were doing this. In the meantime, Israel sends in some people into Fordo and said, look, this is completely gone. But back home, there are groups of people that want the president impeached over the fact that he should have consulted Congress. And so you got AOC and the others.
Right.
ringing their bell.
Ignoring all of the actions of people like Barack Obama, who had many military interventions. They didn't call that a war. And of course, they're trying to say that Trump is drawing us into a protracted land war with Iran. We're not going to send any troops into Iran.
Well, it's what's interesting to me is that the legacy media's message is Trump's still a bad guy and he shouldn't be there, even though majority of Americans did elect him. Secondly, is that they're doing anything they can to show his policy to be crazy. So now they want to impeach him again. Number three. Right. Okay. Well, problem. Yesterday, 128 Democrats joined the GOPs and said no. So you have the Al Greens, you got the AOCs, you got the squad, you got this thin group of people out there, and they just got slammed by their own party. You know what this tells me? The Democratic Party, like the Republican Party, they're splitting down the middle. Okay, the ultra mega is going one way, the mega is going one way. I would say the rhinos are going another way. On the Democratic side, you got this really radical group. And then you got the Blue Dogs, and they're starting to split. But when you have 128 Democrats in the House cross over and vote with the Republicans to say no to an impeachment, that's a bad day.
Yeah. You know what? I think better judgment is prevailing in that sense, because many of them are thinking, hey, we've done this a couple times. How did that play out?
Guess what? We just got them reelected.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. In the meantime, President Putin calls President Trump yesterday and say, hey, Don, I'm paraphrasing here. I'll be a little more respectful.
Okay.
Mr. President, you need any help with Iran?
Oh, wow.
Can you believe this phone call?
No.
And the president said, no, thank you, but why don't you just take care of your own war and get out? Have a nice day. Vladimir.
Perfect. Yeah. I love it.
I'm trying to figure out what was the motive. Besides, what are you going to offer? Help for Iran?
Yes.
What was he offering? I don't know.
Great question.
Okay. In the meantime, the big, beautiful bill, which is so interesting to watch. I've had so many people on the Focus today helping me to understand what's in it, bits and pieces. The main motivator behind the big, beautiful bill is basically 4 or 5 things. Number one is it takes the tax cuts that were given to us during the first Trump administration and makes them permanent. Probably the biggest motivator. If not, everybody's taxes are going to go up, and nobody wants votes for a tax increase. Number two, it does eliminate tax on Social Security. Number three, it does eliminate tax on tips, and it eliminates tax on overtime. Okay, not to mention all the other things. So somebody said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And this is a little bit of a nibble at the elephant called the national debt. But Secretary Bessent, who is the Secretary of the Treasury, is pretty optimistic that it's going to get through, and here's what he had to say.
I had a very successful lunch meeting with the senators. I think that we are on track for hopefully for a vote this Friday for July 4th for the tax bill. President is doing peace deals, tax deals, trade deals, so he's done a peace deal. I think we'd have the tax deal done by July 4th, and then we can finish with the trade deals.
Isn't it interesting? We no longer hear the word negotiation, it's all deals.
Yes, that is
this
so
deal, that
true.
deal, this.
Yes.
So what we have is a businessman first and a president second, or a politician second. So everything's a deal.
Let me ask you this: with that in mind, are there world leaders right now reading The Art of the Deal?
Oh, I think. Look, here's what President Trump's done, whether people like it or not. He has sparked civilian pushback in other countries.
Oh, yeah.
Make your country great again.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Make France great again.
Right.
Okay. Make Iran great again. This is a message to the people. It's not a message to the leadership. And so, and people are saying, yeah, we want our country back.
Yeah.
We want our own pasta in Italy.
Yes.
I mean, Italy's really in trouble.
Yeah.
German, get back to your German beer and, and go on down the line here. But just, let's make our country great again.
Yeah.
Let's just be great individuals and get along. Kumbaya, I'll come to your place and you can give me your meal and you can go to my place and we'll feed you our meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called culture.
Yeah.
All right. So much for that message. All right, we'll be right back. Will you prayerfully consider helping the Dove with, quite frankly, an unexpected expense? We have to replace our main switcher here at the Dove TV. Now, we weren't expecting that or budgeted for it, but the manufacturer now no longer supports this unit. To replace it's about $47,500. So we're asking you to prayerfully consider supporting us and only do what the Lord is leading you to do. Feel free to give us a call or go online. And please know that together, we really are changing lives for good.
Live the adventure with Hellgate Jetboat Excursions. Discover your wild side in the heart of the Pacific Northwest with Hellgate's high-speed spins, stunning rogue river scenery, and incredible wildlife sightings. It's an experience like no other. Plus, you can enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, a place where families connect, friends unite, and the river brings it all to life. Visit Hellgate.com to book your adventure. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
It can be puzzling assembling all the right pieces for your insurance needs in retirement. I'm Michelle Slate. Lighthouse Financial shines guiding light on retirement, investing, and insurance. Guiding you through the stormy seas of insurance, Lighthouse stands out as a beacon of hope, offering you wise counsel and biblically responsible investing. Lighthouse Financial. Call us today, 541-494-1034.
Co-op, where big ideas grow.
All right, welcome back. Good morning to you. 22 minutes past the hour. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, get your hanky out. Now, I really thought this was a divorce, but it might end up just being an annulment.
Oh, okay. All
okay.
Right.
But Krispy Kreme is going to pull away from McDonald's. Now, apparently Krispy Kreme and McDonald's had hooked up for a while. And so the McDonald's could offer Krispy Kreme donuts, and it's just not working out and meeting the bottom line. It's not. The ROI, just the margins there aren't there. So Krispy Kreme has decided to pull back, and so apparently this relationship has come to a short end, and so I called it a divorce. It's probably just an annulment. They agreed to go their separate ways. We shouldn't have done this. But my advice to Krispy Kreme is open up your own kind of Dunkin' Donut thing.
Oh, yeah.
Coffee and a donut. And you know what? Don't sell them separately.
Oh.
Every cup of coffee gets a donut.
A donut. Oh, package deal.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you want more, you can add to it. But you sell the combo.
Do we need a Krispy Kreme location in Southern Oregon?
Oh, gosh, do we ever?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't even know where the closest one is.
Well, I think Portland was for a while. Now I think there's one in Eugene. Now, I say this with great reluctance because our own Donut Country does a great job.
Hard to beat Donut Country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what's cool about Donut Country?
What?
I can drive through there at 4 in the morning.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
I know Krispy Kreme's don't open till what?
Yeah. And Krispy Kreme doesn't make an old-fashioned.
No, they don't. They just make one.
Yeah.
Great.
It's a glazed donut, and it's a unique glazed donut. It's really good. But
Well, apparently you're not going to be able to get them at McDonald's anymore.
Oh.
So that's kind of a bad thing.
All right, but they still have filet-o-fish.
Yeah, you'll get everybody. Actually, there's you know, we'll call Doug Gould and say, is they're counting for Krispy Kreme addicts that drive through the McDonald's kiosk and they can't get it. So, so Doug, what you're going to do, you got to get on the other side of the kiosk, you know, and just hand out a little counseling card.
Hey, I think of Krispy Kreme and dopamine just surges through my body.
Yeah, see, so as they drive through and they don't get it, be there with a little flyer or something. You know, we have counseling classes at night for you, Krispy Kreme addicts. Okay,
excellent. All
okay, all right. Let's take a look at Wall Street for a Wednesday morning. Thank you, Preston. He's one of the dudes out there. He has a smart lawn. His wife has ice cream. The Dow's off just a few points, down maybe 12 points. The Nasdaq bumped up 103. And the S&P's up about 10, almost 11 points. So kind of a mixed bag at the ringing of the bell this morning. Gold's still down a little bit, 33.29. Silver is down, but coming back up, 35, almost $36. And crude oil's kind of like where we like it. It's at 64.97, say $65 a barrel. Up a few pennies.
All right.
That's what's happening.
Well, interesting developments in the Middle East, certainly in Iran, and now the president with NATO being, he's basically the man of the hour over there. He's been given a lot of credit, some saying you have made the world a safer place. But where do we go from here in that situation? Well, on Newsmax's Wake Up America, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark joined in to discuss strategy going forward from here.
I think it's smart not to take out the Ayatollah. You know, he would be very happy to be martyred. That's not a smart move. And that's why, as President Trump said, he's not attacking him yet, and shouldn't. I think the right move is to degrade the ability of the Iranian government to control its own people. So the strike on the prison this morning, very important. Strike on the Republican Guards headquarters, very important. Now some regional strikes in various cities around Iran on police headquarters, Basij headquarters, would be the next step in putting the pressure on. There are groups that can come forward, groups outside of Iran, groups inside of Iran, but they're cautious. And so they've got to see that the regime is mortally wounded. What they don't want to do is jump out there and then get in a civil war and be destroyed. You know, there was an effort in 2009. President Barack Obama didn't take advantage of it. He then moved into trying to solve the problem with negotiations. But this is the opportunity to really have the regime either renounce its aims to destroy Israel or it will be replaced.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, these are guys that have been around the block. I don't think we know. I mean, we sit here with limited understanding, with limited knowledge, the strategies behind all of this stuff, and quite frankly, the intelligence.
Yeah,
you know,
he makes a good point about not making a martyr out of the Ayatollah. That's probably wise. I've heard it said that the Ayatollah obviously is sitting in a bunker somewhere right now. Nobody except maybe the U.S. and Israel know where, and they probably do. But they're not going to make a move on him. He's 86 years old. Apparently, he is a cancer patient, and I guess they're gonna see how this plays out.
Yeah, all that's yet to be seen. You can speculate all day long. I just thought it was so irresponsible yesterday what CNN did.
Oh, totally.
And I'm thinking, you know, why did you do this? What was the motive? Well, the motive obviously becomes clear. Let's just damage the president.
Right.
But I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Where's the motive to retain credibility in your product? Where's the motive to be ethical? Where's the motive to create something that people can trust?
They lost that a long time ago.
You know?
Yeah.
You kind of wonder, I mean, is this swirling around in the bowl before it goes down? Because it's just kind of like, what? You know, at one time you guys were a powerhouse. Now you just tolerate it.
Yeah. Yes.
You know. But moreover, that's another problem. Moreover is the damage that it does to those who want to hear that, even they know that it can't be sustained. How many people want to believe what they put out yesterday?
Oh, sure, yeah. The people that are tuning in want to believe it.
They want to believe that.
Yes.
And so it just fuels the hatred in the discourse. And so it's really pretty sad.
Yeah.
All right, good morning to you. 29 and a half past the hour on a beautiful morning that if you take the day off, you may want to go noodling. We'll be right back.
I can't get over what you've done for me. That's why I gotta sing. I can't get over what you've done for me.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free, and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? When you want surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life, call State Farm agent Rory Wold in Medford today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Good morning. How you doing out there? Half past the hour on a beautiful Wednesday, and a little bit cooler the next couple of days, you know. Really kind of nice as we end June and start July, which is just unbelievable. I'm looking at, you know, we're right in the middle of we should probably give you an update. We're so busy around here, but we're right in the middle of a remodel, and we're flipping the building. Not that we're getting out of it. We're flipping the operation from one end to the other. And I had my goals. Oh, they're all out the door.
Are they? Sorry.
It's amazing. You get involved in these things and they take on their own life.
Yeah.
I don't care how well you plan.
Yeah.
This happens, and all of a sudden your dates just kind of get wings. They just kind of get up and go away. You know? So I don't know what to do with all this stuff. But here it is, July, and I wasn't planning on July being here this soon.
Oh. You know, I think there's a lot of that going around.
It's a disease.
Yes.
I don't know. Is there counseling for that, Doug?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. All right, let's check in with CBN News Watch and get caught up.
This is CBN News Watch.
It is Wednesday, June 25th, going to begin this half hour with the aftermath of the U.S. military strike on Iran's nuclear program. The Trump administration is pushing back strongly against reports saying the attacks only set Iran back a few months, saying the damage was severe. For now, the ceasefire between Israel and Iran seems to be holding a day after Iranian missile attacks on Israel. Chris Mitchell brings us the story now. He's reporting from Jerusalem.
In Washington, the State Department is optimistic the ceasefire will hold.
There was some activity back and forth, and that has stopped, and the ceasefire has taken effect, and the president is pleased.
In central Tehran, thousands remain defiant, shouting death to Israel and death to America.
We don't approve of the ceasefire at all. We will continue fighting until we are either martyred or win. God willing, Iran will eventually own a nuclear bomb.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu assessed the impact of Operation Rising Lion.
For dozens of years, I promised you that Iran would not have nuclear weapons.
Therefore, with all the actions that our fighters have taken, we brought to ruin Iran's nuclear program. And if anyone in Iran tries to revive this project, we will act with the same determination and the same strength to put an end to any such attempt. I repeat, Iran will not have nuclear weapons.
President Trump emphasized to reporters the U.S. and Israel stopped Iran's nuclear program.
They're not going to have enrichment, and they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. The last thing on Iran's mind right now is nuclear weapons.
However, the head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization announced it has begun building a new uranium enrichment facility and said of the regime's nuclear program, "Our plan is not to allow any interruption." The White House also slammed a report by CNN and other media outlets that a preliminary U.S. intelligence assessment claims the attacks did not destroy Iran's nuclear program, but only set it back a few months. Caroline Levitt posted, "The alleged assessment is flat out wrong. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets. Total obliteration." With the ceasefire holding, Israel is turning its attention back to the war in Gaza. The IDF announced 7 soldiers were killed in a Hamas attack on an armored personnel carrier. Also, the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is asking the UN to stop fighting its effort to feed Gaza's civilians and condemn Hamas's killing of several of its humanitarian workers 2 weeks ago. GHF Chairman Reverend Johnny Moore wrote to the UN, "Silence in the face of such violence is not impartiality or neutrality, it is abandonment." In just a few weeks, the GHF has distributed more than 40 million meals to hungry Gazans.
And our CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell continues our coverage now. So, Chris, the Trump administration is blasting the leak, saying the United States strike only set the Iranian program back a few months. Israel seems to disagree as well. How confident is Israel the damage to Iran's nuclear program was severe?
Well, according to President Trump, Ephraim, actually, they had Israelis actually went into Fordo, and they described what they saw, what they reported as total obliteration and a devastating attack, which obviously contradicts what CNN and other media reports had said. That's very critical because the U.S. invested a lot of its military efforts to hit Fordo. That was the one uranium site that really Israel didn't have the munitions for. They didn't have the B-2 bombers. And so, according to President Trump and to Israeli boots on the ground, apparently, and maybe some of these Mossad agents that went in there to report that actually it was the obliteration that Caroline Levitt said, as well as President Trump.
So, Chris, if Iran does rebuild its nuclear program, would Israel or the United States strike again? What do you think?
Well, again, President Trump was asked that question, and perhaps some people believe this may be his most important statement since the fire. The question was, if Iran does rebuild its uranium enrichment facilities, would the U.S. strike? And he said yes. And it really does seem that Iran is determined, even just a couple of days after the 12-day war, that they want to continue their nuclear enrichment. You saw that lady in Tehran actually saying they do want a nuclear weapon. Iran's foreign minister said no one in Iran has given up on the nuclear program. So there is a deep concern that Iran will simply repair its nuclear facilities, accelerate its nuclear program, perhaps even to weaponization. And the question continues to remain, Ephraim, where is that enriched uranium? About 1,400 pounds of enriched uranium, up to 60% enrichment. That's just one step away from weapons-grade uranium. So that's a very important question. And also, it seems like Iran hasn't given up on its nuclear ambitions.
Okay, so where is that uranium?
Yeah.
The enriched uranium. And are you telling me the intelligence doesn't know?
Yeah.
I don't know, unless it's in the bunker with the Ayatollah.
No, there's a possibility. Maybe.
What do you do with that?
Yeah.
All right, good morning to you. 21 minutes before the hour. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Looks like it's going to be all the way up and down the Pacific coast. And here's the guy to tell you about it.
A look at today's weather thanks to Grange Co-op. An onshore flow will bring milder and cloudier weather to the top of our region, so cloudy skies early, gradually clearing to mostly sunny with daytime high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Moving down the Willamette Valley, partly sunny with daytime highs continuing in the mid to upper 70s for Salem, Albany, Corvallis, and Eugene with a light northwest wind around 6 miles per hour this afternoon. Mostly sunny skies across the central Oregon high desert with daytime highs in the upper 70s, low 80s for Prineville Bend and Sun River. Sunny and hot over in Boise, Idaho with daytime highs near 92. Patchy fog this morning along the Oregon coast, then clearing to sunny to mostly sunny skies with daytime highs in the upper 60s for Coos Bay and Port Orford, near 57 in Brookings and 61 in Crescent City, California. In southern Oregon, more sunshine for the Rogue Valley with high temperatures in the mid to upper 80s in Grants Pass, Medford, and Ashland. In the Klamath Basin, sunny in mid 80s with a light west wind. Into northern California, sunny in mid to upper 80s around Wairika. Sunny with high temperatures in the mid 90s for Redding and Chico and near 91 in Sacramento with a west-southwest wind 5 to 9 miles per hour. In the Bay Area, mostly cloudy through mid-morning, then becoming sunny near 81 in Santa Rosa and 79 in Napa. Partly sunny in mid-60s in San Francisco, and today in San Jose, sunny with a high in the low 80s. A look at our Wednesday weather, brought to you by Grange Co-op.
All right, good, beautiful area, and very dry, so be careful out there, especially going towards 4th of July.
Well, car lovers. I think there's a bit of car lover in all of us, but there are 63 regional clubs for those who love this brand of cars, even though the last one rolled off the assembly line on this day in history.
On June 25, 1956, the last true Packard, once America's premier luxury car, rolled off the Detroit assembly line. Founded by brothers James and William Packard in 1899, the company quickly rose to fame with innovative models like the Grey Wolf and the Twin Six, featuring a revolutionary V12 engine. Packard wasn't just about performance, it symbolized craftsmanship with its square, elegant body and meticulous detailing. During World War I, the Twin Six even helped power aircraft. But by the 1930s, competition from Cadillac and shifting tastes pushed Packard to diversify. Post-World War II, it struggled to keep up. A merger with Studebaker in the 1950s offered a lifeline, but it wasn't enough. On that June day in 1956, production stopped in Detroit. Though cars continued briefly in Indiana, that was the end of the true Packard, forever remembered by its iconic slogan, "Ask the man who owns one."
Wow.
Well, there you are. Well, some said, what were they?
The American Rolls Royce.
Yeah, I think they were the Bentley.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good point. And it was said that the richest guy in town usually had a Packard. And we're looking at one right there. They're amazing cars.
Yeah, they're a friend of mine, car collector. He has 2 of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have die-hard following. I'm telling you. It is. Beautiful car.
Well, isn't the 57 was 57?
56 is when they closed
56.
down. Yeah.
That was actually ugly.
Well, yeah. See, what they tried to do was they lost. Their background was in making luxury cars for the elite of America. Well, things changed in the 30s. And and they said basically there will always be people with money. Doesn't matter what the economy does. There will always, but it got so bad in the 30s that even people with money couldn't justify driving around in those beautiful cars when there were so many people hurting. Yeah. And sales went down, and that hurt them. So they tried to make something for the common man, didn't work.
Well, they were a powerhouse at one time. All right, back over to Newsmax and Charlie Kirk being on the program over there, and he is talking about maybe the art of the deal.
Well, first of all, what an extraordinary masterclass on display from President Trump the last week and a half. I've been telling my audience on social media, you have to trust President Trump. There's a game at play here that you might not understand. You must trust in President Trump. And look at what he's been able to accomplish. No nukes for Iran. No U.S. troops harmed at all, not even a casualty. No boots on the ground, no regime change, and no nation building. That's a lot of no's. And there's a lot of people that were saying no to President Trump this last week and a half. And honestly, a lot of people have to reconsider because they doubted President Trump. He was playing a very sophisticated game this entire week understanding that Israel was taking the lead, but it might require a little bit of U.S. bombing at Fordo and Natanz and Isfahan, and it was an incredible military operation. But now we have a peace deal. Mind you, in addition to the peace deal that President Donald Trump was able to broker between India and Pakistan, at this rate, I think President Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, and the way that he has handled this has just been spectacular. The world can now say that Iran will not get a nuclear weapon, while also those of us that were a little bit worried that we might potentially get into another Middle East war, no, President Trump delivered. There will be no quagmire, no Iraq, no Libya, no Syria, and President Trump with another victory for the American people.
Remarkable.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
And he's in NATO, and now it's somebody out there is nominating for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes, yes.
And he's over there. Yeah, give me a break. They'll never nominate.
Yeah, he says, I don't care what I do, they'll never give me that.
So
yeah.
There's another group out there want him to. He thinks he's now qualified. I had to laugh at this. He qualifies to be on Mount Rushmore.
I love it. I love it.
But you know, there was a classic comment on the end of that.
What?
The guy said, "Oh, that'll never happen." Well, why not? There's not enough rock left to handle his hairdo.
No.
Come on, folks, you got to keep a little levity in all. All right, we'll be right back.
Interviewing newsmakers, experts, and a who's who of ministry leaders over 21,000 times, over 40 years. The Dove's Perry Atkinson. Tap into his experience and knowledge right here on the Dove TV.
Go where the wild runs deep. At Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, you feel the power of the mighty Rogue River as you take in the sights and sounds of nature, journey through Hellgate Canyon, and adventure through the breathtaking wilderness. Enjoy brunch or dinner on the open-air deck of the exclusive Hellgate River Lodge, and end your adventure with our exciting jetboat spins. It's a memory in the making with family and friends. Book your adventure at Hellgate.com. Hellgate Jetboat Excursions, where adventure runs wild.
The right cleaning company matters. Choose Dust Plus Cleaning and Carpet Care, a family-owned company proudly serving Grants Pass and nearby communities for over 25 years. We're passionate about delivering the best, whether it's carpets, using purified water for no window spots, or carefully washing solar panels. We're committed to superb customer service from start to finish. Radiant spaces from local professionals. Request a free quote today.
This morning's weather and the Dove weather cameras are brought to you by Grange Co-op. They have what you need for your farm, ranch, apparel, garden, pet, and home.
Nick Shakur of the Chosen TV series shares stories of his childhood.
I was born in Beirut, Lebanon, and she told me, she said, I was in labor for 3 days with you while bombing.
Okay, it's 13 before the hour. Why do people on the right oppose President Trump supporting Israel?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Okay, I had Lori Cardoza-Moore on the show. Lori Cardoza-Moore, there we go. Had her on the show. She is she heads up the Proclaim Justice to the Nation, been in Israel, does documentaries on Israel a couple a year, and here's her take on that.
Well, we have a history of anti-Semitism within the conservative movement, and even within the Christian world. For 2,000 years, we've seen Jew hatred rise up. Why would they do this, Perry?
Yeah.
You would think that, these are the descendants of the God of Abraham. And if God made a covenant with these people that was everlasting, and if you look at Isaiah 11, and to me, Isaiah 11 says it all, where in verse 11, Ephraim and Judah would unite together in the last days against the enemies coming against Israel from the west, Hamas, and the east, Iran. Now we know who it is. And to see us both come together like this, is just amazing. It's biblically the most profound thing. And I have been saying for the longest time, we cannot turn our back on Israel. I understand not getting into these long wars. I'm against going into Ukraine and into Russia. We shouldn't be involved in that. This is something they should have worked out themselves. We could help with, diplomatic relations, but not putting our people on the ground, not supplying, using our resources to supply this war. But when it comes to Israel, there's one nation we can't turn our back on, because we are told through the prophets over and over, judgment will come. The book of Obadiah is very clear that God said in the last days he was going to wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood by while their brother Jacob was held in captivity and they did nothing. These people on the other side of the MAGA movement are not biblically oriented. They may say they're Christians and they may go to church on Sunday, but they don't read the prophets. They don't read the scriptures. We will be judged if we stand by while we watch Iran attack our friend and our ally, our brethren in the faith. There will be judgment to pay.
Okay, so this brings up an interesting topic that it's very, very hard to deal with because emotions run so high, and that is the anti-Semitism within Christianity. And you say, oh, that's a fringe element. Well, okay, it may not be dominant in the true sense of the word, but it is loud.
It is loud, and it's historical. It goes way back.
Yeah, and when you have the replacement theology movement, which is a doctrine out there that the Jews are Jesus killers.
Right, yes.
So what do you do with this? And they're very adamant about it, and that they miss the point of us being grafted in.
Right, right.
So it's a huge deal that creates a anger at all of the time, energy, money spent to defend Israel, and theologically that it doesn't appear. Out of this, if you're not careful, what comes out of this theology is we don't need the Old Testament.
Yeah. Exactly, yes.
And that is another thing that is really critical in Christianity today, because more and more people are leaning, well, we really don't need the Old Testament because the Old Testament is fulfilled in the New Testament. The only thing we really need to live by is the New Testament.
Okay.
Whew, boy, I mean, okay, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I have a question for you. Okay, so if their viewpoint is, basically they're Jesus killers, how do they view the fulfillment of prophecy in that occurring?
Well, see, that's why you have to get rid of the Old Testament. Okay, and so part of that is that you got to remember most of Jesus's converts were Jews.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All?
Right. The early church was filled with Jewish believers.
They were all Jews.
Yes.
What do you do with this? So how can you read the book of Acts and say it's irrelevant?
Right. Right.
So, but out of this comes a disdain for Jews. Now, there are other major denominations in the world that just don't recognize Israel. They don't necessarily talk against it, but by not recognizing it, they can become complicit to the problem.
Yes.
And so, I don't know. It's there. I hear from them. I've heard from people in our listening and viewing area, pastors.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And the only thing I'm not going to get in that argument. The only thing I'm going to say is have a nice day. I just don't believe that. You can believe what you want to believe, but I'm not going to go down that road. So.
Wow.
All right, got some great guests coming up, and we have how about a nuclear engineer?
What about a nuclear engineer?
We're going to talk to one.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about how much destruction? Has it been total? Is it complete? Are we going to get any indication here?
Well, enriched uranium, if it's 60% and you need 90%.
Right. But nobody enriches to 60% unless they're going to take it
to a bomb.
90%.
Because if it's enriched below 60%, you can use it for energy.
Yes.
But if you go 60 to 90, you got other purposes in mind.
Are we learning all kinds of nuclear stuff, huh?
See, I'm a nuclear scientist.
There you go, yes. I am too. It's called a microwave.
Yeah.
Nuke it. Nuke it. Okay. All right. Well, we know that boating season is upon us. And some of us know it because We see the boats going up the road as we're coming to work.
Yeah.
You might be in my boat.
I can get to counseling.
Yes, counseling indeed. But speaking of boats, here is one of the tastiest that you'll ever see.
Meet Connor Sonnenberg, the Ohio native who has captured hearts and headlines after cruising around Lake Erie in what might be the most delicious-looking watercraft ever, a fully functioning hot dog boat. And this isn't just a novelty float, it's a custom one-seater vessel that can hit speeds of up to 24 miles per hour, drawing stunned stares and delighted laughter from onlookers wherever it goes. He found the hot dog boat, which was built in 1975, in storage, and he knew he had to buy it and now has plans to do a full restoration. Videos of Connor zooming across the lake in his hot dog quickly went viral over the weekend, with people sharing clips across social media. It's hard not to smile watching a giant hot dog glide through open water like it's the most normal thing in the world. The attention has also brought official interest. Ohio's Parks and Recreation officials have already reached out, and Connor hopes to bring his hot dog boat to major boat shows across the state. Even more exciting, a partnership is in the works with the iconic Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, the most famous land-based hot dog on wheels. If all goes well, we may soon see the greatest hot dog vehicle duo in history, with one pulling the other up to the boat ramp. For now, Connor's boat is proof that summer fun and creative spirit are alive and well, and sometimes shaped like your favorite ballpark snack.
That is terrific. And you know what's interesting about that? When they had a shot there where he opened it up and he had a barbecue in there.
Yeah. And you know, if they're going to pull it with the Wienermobile, they're going to put a trailer hitch on that thing.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of food, quickly, you know, we had some fires a couple of years ago, but we had one that took out the Butter Cloud Bakery and Cafe in Medford. And it was like one of the great places to go get bakery goods.
Yeah.
They reopened today.
Oh, no kidding.
So congratulations, Butter Cloud Bakery and Cafe, reopening after the fire.
All right.
If you ever gone in there and seen some of their stuff, you don't come out with nothing.
Okay.
You come out with something. Are you prone to bakeries?
Oh, I love bakeries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go to this one.
Okay.
Butter Cloud. All right. 1 John 4:19. We love. Why? Because He, the Lord, first loved us. Good word for you today. Stick around. We'll got some great guests coming up.
Big ideas grow.
With the words, "Behold, a sower went out to sow," Jesus begins the legendary Matthew 13 parable of the sower about God's word and draws attention to the need for good soil in order to bear fruit. This question of good soil motivates and challenges every Christian parent. Can good soil be nurtured in the lives of our children? A similar question was asked by the ancient Greeks concerning virtue. Drawing upon classical traditions like the trivium and the liberal arts, classical Christian schools are coming alongside Christian parents to do just that, nurture good soil and virtue. Now in our 8th year serving Jackson County, Knox Academy, the Rogue Valley's own K-12 classical Christian school, is relocating to downtown Medford in order to better assist parents as they educate their children. We are currently enrolling students for the 25-26 school year. Visit us at knoxmedford.com for more information. Invest in a future with a strong connection to the past for good soil, deep roots, and fruit at knoxmedford.com.
Clean water is essential to your good health. UltraPure Purified Water has been delivering purified, healthy drinking water to the Rogue Valley since 1995. Locally owned and family-run, UltraPure Purified Water uses a multi-stage process ensuring your delivery of water is 99.8% pure, so your family stays hydrated and healthy. Online at ultrapurewaterinc.com or call 541-734-0828. 541-734-0828.
Have you seen Mornings on the Dove?
Iran did attack Israel yesterday, and that has escalated. This is the cost of freedom and liberation. It doesn't minimize the pain and the suffering here and the death.
G7 is interested in monitoring their program. Trump says, we're way past that.
Yeah.
We're eliminating it.
Dads have power in their words.
Wake up to information. Mornings on the Dove, weekdays.
God's eternal power and divine nature are seen in creation. But in a world blinded by darkness, the life outdoors is here to pull back the veil. The mountains don't lie. Truth leads to Jesus. Wake the wild within.
The Dove has an unexpected expense. Our video switcher must be replaced. Will you prayerfully consider helping to replace this important equipment? Thank you for partnering with the Dove.
Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Of course, the Middle East very much in the news these days, and Iran in particular. Has it been knocked down? Is it going to be knocked out? Will it regain? Will it come back? How big is the nuclear damage? What are we talking about? What happened to the 60% enriched uranium? A lot of questions. And I'm delighted to have back with us today Shaheen Gobadi is the U.S.-educated nuclear engineer and a member of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, Iran's parliament in exile, so to speak, and he's an astute observer of the Iranian affairs over the past 3 decades, pretty much tracks everything from the proxy groups to what's going on in the conflict, not only with Israel, but with the United States. So we welcome Shaheen back with us today. Good to see you again, friend. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much, and thanks for having me. And I hope you have had a good day, and I hope you and all your good viewers and listeners will have a nice summer.
Thank you, and thank you for your time, sir. Can you give us your update on the assessment of Iran today?
Well, I think what happened was very, very significant, and I think obviously Iran, now after what happened, is ready for peace, but one has to remember that the task of getting rid of this regime is upon the Iranian people and the Iranian resistance, and theirs only, and we have said this time and again. But I think what happened in the last 2 weeks made us one step closer to the concept that there should not be any appeasement, but at the same time, foreign war is not a solution, has never been. But we need a solution, and that's change from bottom up, getting rid of this regime by the Iranian people. And I think that's the concept that now it's becoming much more necessary than ever before, because people saw the dangers that Iran poses. For 3 decades, Madam Maryam Rajavi, who is the woman who leads the resistance, she's the president-elect of the resistance, had warned that appeasement, the policies that were pursued by Clinton and Obama and Biden will eventually lead to war. And, that's exactly what happened. But again, the ultimate solution, I think, is the regime change, because so far, as long as you have this regime in place, you will not see stopping driving to acquire nuclear weapons. You will not see, assisting and nurturing and financing terrorist groups. You will not see any letdown and repression. These are all in the DNA of this regime, but they are not much weaker than they were before. And I think compared to very last time when I was in your show, obviously there has been very dramatic turn of events.
A lot here. Do you think more military action will be required before regime change?
Actually, I think honestly speaking, What's required is a good policy which sides with the Iranian people and the resistance, and I think that's all is required. And once again, as Madam Mariam Rajavi testified before the U.S. House of Representatives online back in February, she said, we are not seeking boots on the ground, we are not seeking American taxpayers' money, we are not seeking weapons, these are unnecessary. But a good policy is very much helpful. The policy that, like, according to your own constitution, like the American Constitution, recognizes the right to rebel, the right to, when the tyranny becomes the norm of governance, to rebel is a duty. And the fact that Iranian people, like any nation on the face of the earth, have the right to get rid of this regime and establish a democratic government, I think is what should be recognized and should be underscored as the underpinning policy of the United States and the rest of the world, I would say. In terms of whether the regime is weaker now, obviously, yes, it's much weaker. But I think the change will come from the streets, by the Iranians battering the regime and bringing about a change, by another uprising, a revolution, which, by the way, is being worked at as we speak by a large network of resistance activists in Iran who are affiliated to the main Iranian resistance movement known as the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, also known as MEK. They are diligently, day in and day out, by taking a huge risk, actually putting their lives on the line, are trying to bring this about and make it quicker than later.
All right, so I want to just kind of deal a little bit with the possibility of a revolution. Timing is everything on this. Has the leadership, has the regime been damaged enough that a revolution could take place now, or does it still need to be weakened a little more?
Well, I think if one looks at the trajectory and the way things have been, I think we're on the right track. And I would say that this is not something that happened. It started 2 weeks ago. It started years and years ago. One has to remember the main war, the war that will determine everything, is the war between the Iranian people and this regime. The Iranian people hate this regime, and I cannot emphasize this enough. They want to get rid of it at the first opportunity. But obviously, change cannot come from the air. It should come from the ground, from the people themselves in the streets. And they have the courage, and they have paid heavy price. One has to remember that there are more than 120,000 good Iranians, many of them, tens of thousands of them women, have lost their lives to bring us where we are today. They have been battling this regime from its infancy. And while the regime has kept on power by brute force and unimaginable repression, but now the grip on power obviously is ebbing. The people's determination is on the rise, and the good thing is, as I said, there's a network of activists on the ground, and there's a viable democratic alternative in the National Council of Resistance of Iran. The reason I bring in the issue of the alternative is that because always, this is a key issue, and as Iranians we learned that firsthand by our own lives, that it is not only enough to get rid of one despot. It's very important, and maybe even more important, is to know what you would like to replace it with. Otherwise, you might jump from the frying pan to the fire. And this is exactly what happened in Iran in 1979. People got rid of a dictator in the Shah who was corrupt, who was, very repressive, and his secret police. And they got Khomeini after. And again, because the Shah kept repressing people for so long, an imposter like Khomeini could beguile them. So, given that experience, now there is a viable alternative in the National Council of Resistance of Iran with a very clear-cut program and a 10-point plan for the transition, which calls for separation of government and religion, for gender equality, for total freedom, for a non-nuclear Iran, for an Iran which is in mutual, amicable, amiable relationship with the rest of the world, an Iran that believes in market economy, that recognizes the rights of all the national minorities, and so on and so forth. This is the type of Iran that we envision. And the good thing is that you have a plan, you have a leader, you have a body, which is like a parliament in exile. So basically all the necessary steps have been taken to get us where we are today.
So it is brewing. There's no question about it. How do the how did the citizens take the country back without turning the Ayatollah into a martyr?
Well, obviously nobody's calling for violence. I mean, actually, the party that has imposed violence on the Iranian people is the regime and the regime only. But in what shape and form it will transpire, nobody has a crystal ball. But obviously, the Ayatollahs are not going to be just simply talked out the office. I mean, it's not going to be a velvet situation because they are too brutal, too repressive, too blood drenched. But with the international pressure, obviously the cost from the Iranian people's side can be reduced, and that's what's at stake. You see, I think it's very important after this conversation and a conversation like this to come to a better feeling that there is a viable alternative in Iran. Iran is not binary, that you either go bomb the Ayatollahs or you make, kowtow to them and placate them. There is a third option, and that's the option that Madam Mariam Rajavi, the president-elect of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, articulated 21 years ago. But unfortunately, because of what I said, appeasement policy, it landed on deaf ears. And people have always thought, oh, they can make a deal with the mullahs, and mullahs can be brought to terms, and so on and so forth. And now we have seen the dreadful consequence of that policy before us. So it's time to kiss that policy goodbye once and for all, to come to the side of the Iranian people and the resistance, and give them a good policy. Now, what's a good policy? A good policy is much, much tougher sanctions on the regime, so they will not have any means to finance all their malign activities. Also, to hold the regime's leader accountable for other crimes, and also to explicitly recognize the right of the Iranian people and the resistance to bring about a regime change by the people and for the people. The reason I emphasize this is that, Iran 2025 is not Iraq 2003. Nobody's calling for, American tanks. Nobody's calling for boots on the ground. Quite contrary, as I said, we have said time and again, this is not requested, this is not necessary. The Iranian people are ready, and this is their mission and their mission of the Iranian resistance. This is their responsibility, and we are up to the challenge, and we have been doing so for the last 4 decades.
Were you surprised of the accuracy of the activity over this past weekend? I mean, how accurate it was, how they knew where things were, and how specific the attacks were?
Well, I cannot say I was surprised, but obviously, look, you're talking to a movement that has a lot of eyes and ears on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, when it came to the nuclear issue, out of the 3 sites that were basically bombed, 2 of them, the one in Natanz and Fordo, the most important ones, were actually revealed by our network back in 2002 in Natanz and 2005 for Fordo. And how did that come about? Through a vast network of operatives and network of the activists that we have inside Iran and even inside the regime's organs. There's a tremendous dissatisfaction in Iran, even within the regime's ranks. I'm not talking about repressive people. I'm talking about, ordinary citizens who work in various entities. And that's how the resistance gets its information. Actually, you might find it interesting that in the course of the last 3 decades, specifically in the last 23 years, we have had 133 various revelations about Iran's nuclear program, various secret sites, projects, research centers, key scientists, and so on and so forth. And how could that be possible? Just simply by having people on the ground, people who put their lives on the line and share this information, because the Iranians fully understand that this nuclear program has nothing to do with energy. They know from the day one this was built for a bomb.
Right.
They have no illusions about that. They know they are the number 1 victims of this. Actually, when the attack took place on Sunday morning, Madame Rajavi, the president-elect of the resistance, said so many lives were lost because of this program over the years. And the regime invested $2 trillion on this, and the Iranian economy lost $2 trillion because of this unpatriotic project. That's $2,000 billion of the Iranian people's, wealth was simply destroyed and ruined because of this unpatriotic project, and it's all went in the smoke. So Iranian people have no affection for this project. They know it's not for them. It's for the regime. It's for survival.
What's your take on supposedly the 60% enriched uranium is missing? Do you think we know where it is or not?
I really have no idea on that. I think that's up to the IAEA, the entity of United Nations in charge of monitoring non-proliferation, to go and check. But you see, let's go one step beyond that. I heard your conversation with the other presenter before the break. You raised a very good question. I don't know if it was you or the other presenter. Why on earth the mullahs need a 60% enriched uranium to begin with?
Right.
Unless it's for military purposes. Anybody who knows something about the nuclear project knows that, you need 3.67%, 3% up to 4% enrichment for energy purposes, and maximum 20% for medical purposes. And what do you need to go higher than that, unless you want to build a bomb? And what's also more important, people always keep talking about, how many percent of enrichment. That's very correct and astute. But for a bomb, you do not only need enriched uranium, you need weaponization process, the implosion process, you need, heavy explosives, you need detonators, you need neutron sources and all sorts of things, which all should happen simultaneously in, microseconds. And also you need a delivery system. I'm talking about warheads that you put on ballistic missiles. And you know what? All these years, we always knew that the regime is pursuing all these three in parallel tracks. I'm saying that they were not only enriching uranium, they were also working on weaponization. We identified a lot of key scientists of the regime who were working on that aspect, and also on delivery system. And in recent months, as the regime was getting weaker, we got very solid information from inside Iran that they have stepped up their work for weaponization and delivery system. Actually, since December of 2024 until May of 2025, we had 4 important press conferences in Washington, D.C., revealing new information, new places that were unknown before, involved in weaponization process and particularly warhead aspects. So, yes, the mullahs have been working very diligently and very secretly to get nuclear weapons. And one should not only be focusing on the enriched uranium, I'm saying not only that, but also on weaponization aspect and also on the delivery system. So the missiles project is also part and parcel in all of this. And also I think every site, every place, every research center should be open to IAEA with no hindrance and no restrictions. Snap inspections, and only when that you dismantle this whole system, you can have some assurance that there's not going to be any nuclear weapons program.
All right, let me take a quick break. Very timely and such an honor to have back with us today Shahim Gobadi. He's a U.S. educated nuclear engineer and a member of the National Council of Resistance of Iran. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
At Sweet Tea Express, we've got you covered. Order at the counter and our friendly service staff will do the rest. Breakfast served daily until 2 p.m. Breakfast burritos, biscuits and gravy, skillets, omelets, and more. Sweet Tea Express. Don't get caught hungry.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Stewardship begins with the knowledge that nothing belongs to us, but everything belongs to the Lord. This helps us to run a business not in the fear of lack, but in the assurance of His care and provision. Such a perspective eliminates the drive to sell and replaces it with a heart that says serve. This begins with serving our clients and coworkers with integrity and genuine care. That's why McKelly's is automotive service with a heart for God and treating others as we ourselves would want to be treated. Our promise is to never sell our clients anything we don't believe they need. Another is to do all we can to meet other needs, such as shuttle service and loaner cars, or taking the time to really listen, even at times praying with our customers. Sometimes this means sacrifice, going above and beyond, but that's why I work for Kelly's Automotive Service, honoring God while serving people with honesty and integrity.
Okay, welcome back. Such an honor, very timely to have back with us today Shaheen Gobadi is the U.S.-educated nuclear engineer and a member of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, the NCRI, and all things Iran he's pretty well informed of, and so we're honored to have him today. Sir, it is an honor to have you today. Let me ask you this. Do you know, in particular, as a result from the weekend's attack on the the nuclear sites, do you know if the nuclear program has been taken out or heavily damaged where it can't be used?
Well, I've not been privy to that information yet. Obviously, we will get some assessment at due course from our own sources, that's for sure. But look, when a regime like this is determined to go for a nuclear bomb, how can you make sure that there is no secret site? How can you make sure that they have not been working on somewhere that nobody knows about?
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm trying to make is this. A right policy is a right policy, but ultimate solution is to get rid of this regime because they're bent on getting the nuclear weapons. Do you know why? Because they have become very weak at home. They have got a lot of beatings in the region. You know, there's proxy groups have been much weakened, as we witnessed. They basically became inconsequential and have become more or less irrelevant. The linchpin of their regional strategy was Bashar Assad dictatorship. That was taken out in 11 days, rather, in Syria. So the mullahs are in a big bind, and the only thing left for them is to go for a nuclear bomb for their survival. So I would not be surprised at all if they have another secret site that they have been working on, and they might have kept a lot of their aspects secret from the world. You see, if one goes and reviews the way this regime has been dealing with the world when it comes to nuclear issue, we are the movement that has revealed many of these aspects. There's Natanz in 2002, Fordow in 2005. Shian Lavizan in 2003, and I can go on and on and on. And in each case, this was the regime's attitude. First, denial. When they were given, they were overwhelmed with facts and they became undeniable, they start, concealing. Then they start, procrastinating. Then they start obstructing. And when they were forced to show it to IAEA at the end of the day, they took a lot of time, and during that period, they did a lot of facelifting, so make it almost impossible for the UN inspectors to do their job. Mm-hmm. I say it's been like hide and seek, catch me if you can, if you remember that movie, Catch Me If You Can. So how can you trust such a regime? How can everyone be confident that they are not doing something secret? So that's why I'm saying that the world would not be basically relieved from the concept of the most dangerous regime, the most active state-sponsored regime in the world being equipped with the most dangerous weapon, if and only if when they're gone. And that's, again, the task of our people and our resistance. I mean, I'm not saying anyone else should come and do it for us. Far from it. But I think to have a better grasp of what we're talking about, I think understanding this 2-decade or so history is helpful.
Okay, so the door is opening for a revolution. Is there such thing as a moderate mullah?
Well, it was always a fantasy. It was always delusional. It could not have been. There has never been. But the tragedy is, with this delusion, or illusion, whatever, or mirage, the mullahs took the Western policy hostage for 2-3 decades. For years and years, by depicting that, there are some moderates in this regime. They played two-face. When it came to outside of Iran, they, smiled and said, oh, there are two factions in this regime, and we are the good people, and we are the softies, and give us some concessions to bring home to show that it's good to deal with the West. And what happened? They, I would say a lot of gullible, interlocutors, gave them concessions after concessions, and the mullahs, guess what, took the cake in 82. So, they took all the concessions, and where did the concessions ended up? By financing more repression of the Iranian people, to advancing nuclear weapons program, to stipending the proxy groups, again, to the detriment of the Iranian people and the world. And this vicious cycle repeated so many times. And we, as the Iranian resistance, and we, as the Iranian people, were the primary victims. We paid the price for this misguided policy so much. So we think it's about time to this notion that there are some moderates in this regime be kissed goodbye. I'm not saying that the other option is war. Far from it again. You see, for years, this was depicted as though if you reject appeasement, it's synonymous with going to war. And we kept saying, look, appeasement will lead to war. Actually, Madam Maryam Rajavi, the president-elect of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, I remember vividly back in December 2004 at the European Parliament, and she said, appeasement will lead to war. So, and we saw what happened, and we saw it happen. So I'm saying, is this concept goodbye once and for all? There are no moderates in this regime. In this regime, everything important is decided by the supreme leader, the totalitarian leader. This is the way this system was built, and this is the way this system functions. Look, in Hitler, during the Nazis' time in Germany, when Hitler was gone, the regime was gone in 36 hours. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. Right. So everything is in the hands of the supreme leader. And this whole fantasy of moderates and someone is softer and somebody is harder should be kissed goodbye once and for all.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Thank you for your answer. Let me ask you one more quick question. If there is a regime, this is somewhat hypothetical, but if there is a regime change, who do you see on your radar screen could come in to be the next leader?
Actually, this has already been addressed. You see, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, which is a coalition of Iranian opposition movements, the democratic ones, or anti-Shah, anti-Mullah, have chosen a very, very courageous, capable woman, Maryam Rajavi, R-A-J-A-V-I, to be the president-elect for the transitional period. And she has articulated this 10-point plan for the transitional period. And there's a very clear-cut roadmap that when the mullahs are out, the council will take over for a maximum period of 6 months. And its primary task is to set the stage for a free and fair election to choose the next National and Constituent Assembly. And when people's representatives are elected in a free and fair election, the council's mandate is over. And then people's, two representatives will chart the next course. I'm saying they will write a new constitution and, people's sovereignty. Obviously, it's going to be a rocky road. I fully understand that, but we are in a right path. And for that six months period, as I said, there will be separation of government and religion. There will be total freedom. There will be total gender equality. There will be no capital punishment. There will be non-nuclear Iran. So there will be a very, very, very different Iran that you have seen for the past 46 years. And that's our commitment to the Iranian people. So basically, we have left nothing to ambiguity. We have left nothing to chance. We are endeavoring inside Iran. The political work is done. And you know what's the good thing? There's more and more recognition of this 10-point plan by politicians. Actually, in the U.S., the majority members of the U.S. House of Representatives back in February introduced a resolution in favor of this 10-point plan in a bipartisan way.
Yeah.
Which is very unique these days in Washington.
Yeah.
Bipartisan way is very unique these days in Washington. And the same with the British House of Commons and British House of Lords and so on and so forth. So we are making a lot of inroads internationally.
That's a great observation. One other quick comment, and I'm almost out of time. Isn't it somewhat commendable, if I could use that word, that with all of the efforts of Israel attacking Iran and the United States, they still left in place the basics of the economy so that the revolution has something to work with, primarily the oil refineries and reserves, and the strait will remain open. That would be the economic basis for a restart, don't you think?
Absolutely. Actually, you know what? The Iranian people fully understand who their enemy is. Put aside all this razzmatazz and propaganda by the mullahs. You know what? Listen to the people's slogans. One of their slogans is "Down with oppressor," being the Shah or the supreme leader, which means that they don't want to go back to the time of the Shah and his baby and so on and so forth. They have rejected that. At the same time, obviously, they reject the current theocracy. Another slogan is "Our enemies here. They're lying to us. That's America." So Iranian people fully understand that they have one enemy and only one enemy, and that is the mullahs. And they know the bright future and the new day comes when they get rid of the mullahs.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely correct. There's no enmity between America and the Iranian people. What should be? Why should be? I think these are the mullahs who are the enemy of everyone who has anything to do with democracy, freedom, and sensible humanity.
Fascinating. Thank you, sir, for your time. I value it greatly. Hopefully we can have you back often. Where can people find out more about the NCRI?
They can go to our website. It's ncr-iran.org. I repeat, ncr-iran.org. It brings about a lot of information that you will not find somewhere else because it comes from a lot of our eyes and ears on the ground.
Good.
And once again, thanks for having me. I wish you and all your good viewers a happy day, weeks, and a very good summer.
All the best to you, friend. Thank you for your time.
Since 1983, over 21,000 interviews. It's quite a feat by one person. The Dove's Perry Atkinson. Tap into his experience and knowledge right here, only on the Dove TV.
Finding that next great series to binge watch is fun, but your neck, shoulders, and body don't count that as me time. Hi, I'm Tamara Miller, owner of Organic Element Spa, and I invite you to put down the remote, get off the couch, and schedule yourself some real me or we time with your favorite service, like one of our many massages, couples massages, or facials. Your health, safety, and comfort are always top priority with us at Organic Element Spa. We can't wait to see you. Book your appointment today.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site 24/7 in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare where your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Experience evangelism like never before. Way of the Master, an award-winning reality TV show tackling hard questions and bold street witnessing that will leave you inspired. Watch Thursdays and Fridays on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back, and delighted to have with us today Gary Ingraham. He's a co-founder of the Love and Truth Network, a national ministry that equips pastors and Christian leaders to help restore relational and sexual wholeness and a biblical identity. Served as a pastor of the Soul Care Ministries in upstate New York before starting the LTN. He and his wife both came out of the identity confusion problems, and they have been married for 17 years and homeschool their 2 sons. They do have a website, loveandtruthnetwork.com. There's a picture of the landing page, loveandtruthnetwork.com. Check it out there. Gary, good to see you. How are you, friend?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on your show, Perry.
Yeah, good to have you back. So much to talk to you about. Wow. Tell us a little bit first your story so people can get a better handle on what we're going to talk about.
Sure. So I grew up in the church in upstate New York, pretty typical church, small country church. And my parents had been Christians for many years. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. They weren't expecting any more children or wanting any more children. So my dad wasn't crazy about the idea of having another child. So I didn't really bond with him, experience much connection with him until much, much later in life after I'd become an adult and really was in my 20s and 30s. But my mom and I were very close. I have 1 older sister, 3 older brothers. At a very early age, I didn't fit in really in the world of boys or men. I was constantly kind of pushed out of that. Gym class was a nightmare at school, and the locker room and those kind of things. I didn't have great hand-eye coordination. There was a lot that seemed very different to me about me versus the boys around me. And so I really never bonded. You know, part of my book talks about the stages of development in childhood. And I went through those stages not really receiving the kind of nurture, care, connection with my own gender, connection with my father that God intended. And as a result of that, and really hanging out with girls and women at church, at school, at home, I really just kind of marinated in the world of the feminine. And so also exposed to hardcore porn by some older neighborhood boys when I was only 5 or 6 years of age, and their sexual behavior together. And then just the combination of all of that left me kind of swirling inside. Didn't open up to anybody about that for a long time because of just shame and fear. The church had no answers that I could find on the issues I was wrestling and struggling with. Went to Bible college, left Bible college at 19, and found my first gay bar and felt like I'd finally found my people. And that was euphoric for a number of months and I'd say even years, and then really began to experience what Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 6:18 when he says, flee sexual immorality. Every other sin that a man commits is outside the body, but the one who sins sexually sins against their own body. And I was really feeling that decay of the soul, of my soul, but not connecting the dots, not understanding what that was all about, still believing I was a gay man, becoming a bartender at a gay club and just living that life until finally coming to a crisis point of surrendering my life for the first time on the side of an interstate, honestly, in the Northeast. And that began this whole new journey of obviously shifting from being a religious kid that knew a lot of things that were true to now having the life of Christ and the Holy Spirit living within.
Wow, what a story, Gary. I mean, I realize it's a hard story, but it's also a story you hear so often these days.
It is.
A broken relationship early on in the family, usually with a father, but not always, but usually with a father, and then it's protracted out with what you just said. Let me just kind of dwell there just for a moment. What brought you to the point of you've had enough?
You know, it was this convergence of I had believed, I grew up perceiving, it wasn't a conscious thought, but perceiving that God is basically an ogre or a slave master that demands we love him. And no one, of course, ever said that or taught that. It's just something, because I was in the kind of church, which is pretty typical, that was very truth-based and Bible-based, but it was very short on compassion, love, and honestly, being honest about individual struggles. I mean, I thought I was the only one dealing with anything, like this at all. And of course, there were others dealing with sexual brokenness, that kind of thing. And so this convergence, though, of beginning to believe that, wait a minute, God, why aren't you just killing me? Why aren't you just punishing me, maiming me, doing what I think you typically do. Why are you allowing me to still exist when I'm doing these kinds of things against you? And I never mistook that for God's approval, but it began to put a question mark in my heart that, well, maybe God isn't standing there with a 2x4 just waiting to crack me upside the head when I step out of line, as I believed he was. And then the other thing was that decay of my soul, that rotting, that something that was just, I couldn't even fully describe. Those two things kind of coming together, I believe, I began to think that, well, maybe there's more to God than what I think or I understand, which, duh, I mean, of course there is, but maybe he's more loving. Maybe when Romans says it actually is the kindness of God that leads us to repentance, maybe that actually is true. I used to be angry about that verse because I didn't think there was anything kind about God. And so it was just all this kind of happening at once. I feel like God was a fisherman in my life who had me on the line. It was just waiting for, giving me line, letting me go out, not that he was approving of any of it, but drawing me back in. And finally, when I was exhausted, he actually, brought me into his family. I feel like that, it took many years for that to happen.
So your fulfillment is something I say often on the air. Whatever God saves you from, brings you through, he turns you around and makes you a minister too. So nothing's wasted in God's economy. The other thing is you can go to church, you can read Bibles, you can go to seminars, you can read books. They're all good, and they all play a part. But at the end of the day, only two things change people. That's inspiration and desperation. Sounds like Sounds like you were desperate.
Yeah, I was just talking with someone about that yesterday. That very word, a former mentor and person that I love dearly, who's gone home to be with the Lord, Cy Rogers, talked about that need for desperation. It's not enough just to kind of want to change a little bit or tweak our behavior. We really have to become desperate so that the pain of change or the pain of staying in the same rut that we're in becomes greater than shifting to a place of stepping into the unknown.
Because sometimes God uses desperation to inspire you.
Absolutely. For sure.
Okay.
I often refer to him as ambushing me, and in all the right ways.
You mentioned something that I want to drill down on just quickly. At the end of the day, in the middle of your rebellion, if I can use that term to kind of encapsulate, you knew in your soul you were doing wrong.
Yes.
And I've often pinpointed that. I thought, if we can look at people that are in the middle of this addiction or any other addiction, they're broken children that are looking for a way out. So you knew you were doing wrong. You didn't need to be preached to. You knew you were wrong.
Yeah, I absolutely knew that I was wrong. There was no question in my mind about that. The difference, the issue is that I grew up really relationally starved in so many ways. And that's not unique to my story. I think that's very common. That's more typical than not, is that we don't get all that we need, even in good families, but we don't get all that we need in terms of our relational needs being met. And I believe that the church is in many, it's the bride of Christ, it's the body of Christ, but it's also our second chance at family. And in most cases, the reason our ministry really exists, and I travel and speak in churches all around the country and do online training, et cetera, is because what I've seen over and over again as a pastor and as one traveling to many churches is the church is not vulnerable. The church most people are hiding from one another, sitting beside each other, sitting in men's groups, sitting in women's groups. We're not open and vulnerable, even with a tribe of a few people. And I'm always talking about bands of brothers, bands of sisters. We need to get back to that, where nothing is off the table, where we really know one another and are praying for one another and loving one another. And love, of course, is not affirmation of sin. It's quite the opposite of that, but it's affirmation of the person, leading them out of those places of brokenness. And frankly, the church has a lot of opportunity to grow in the areas of vulnerability and relationship.
So why did you feel, and this is rhetorical, why did you feel more comfortable being vulnerable with your gay friends than you are with church people?
Well, I frankly, I've often said, and some of your listeners might think this is a little bit odd, but I've often said I feel like I've had better fellowship at times sitting on a bar stool with people than I have in all of my years attending church, or many in the past. I mean, now I have phenomenal fellowship with people in the church and in my band of brothers and in the body of Christ. But what I was looking for was authenticity, was love, was and of course I'm looking. I wasn't getting love. I was getting something that counterfeits as love. But it's one of the things I think that's so powerful about sexual sin, heterosexual, LGBT, whatever the case. One of the things so powerful about sexual sin is it mimics authentic intimacy, and we are craving intimacy both as sons of God, as daughters of God, not just in our marriages but in our friendships as well. But we're so uptight about how close we get to one another. And of course there's boundaries. I mean, I went way beyond those boundaries. I'm not talking about anything that's inappropriate sexually or even emotionally idolatrous. That happens too. But I'm talking about brothers really knowing and supporting one another, and sisters doing that as well. And if we had that, when we're relationally full, it's a whole lot easier to say no to sexual temptation that pulls at our flesh than when we are starving emotionally and relationally.
You write that your drug of choice was sex. Is it in the category of an addiction?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that sexual addiction is a real thing, and then when it comes to identity issues and same-sex attraction, I think there are some additional compounding issues, there. But we oftentimes say same fruit, different, or same root, different fruit. What we found is that in almost all cases, with some nuanced exceptions, the reason people get into sexual sin, especially as Christians or people who grew up in Christian families, are often they flow out of the same issues, the same root issues, but they're expressed in different ways, whether that's, again, LGBTQ or that's heterosexual pursuit or whatever, womanizing, etc. And so, yeah, I think that we in the body of Christ need to learn how to love one another well and to fill in those empty places in our lives. And of course, God is ultimately the one to do that, but he often uses the body of Christ as his conduit of grace to really, for us to be the hands and feet of Jesus to one another.
This is great stuff. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, Gary has a website, loveandtruthnetwork.com, and he also has a book out, Am I Gay? ? Coming out of the cultural Christianity and LGBTQ plus identity into authentic faith in Jesus. There's the picture of the landing page. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
Welcome to Rise Direct Primary Care. Imagine a healthcare experience where you're known by name, cared for like family, and treated with compassion. How is that possible? With an affordable, flat monthly membership, you receive unlimited primary care and minor urgent care visits. No insurance needed. At Rise Direct Primary Care, we offer a friendly, affordable healthcare experience where you get a whole hour with your provider. Located in Central Medford and accessible by phone or text, we can typically get you in the same or next day. We prescribe urgent care medications directly from our office, saving you a trip and wait time at the pharmacy when you'd rather be at home getting better. Personalized medical care with a human touch. Rise Direct Primary Care is all about healing the sick with compassion and keeping the healthy healthy. Rise Direct Primary Care. We're here for you. Visit risehealthdpc.com or call or text us 541-827-8603. 541-827-8603.
21,000 interviews, that's a big milestone. It's huge. My first adventure into anything that would have been political was the late Senator Mark Hatfield. And he said, I'm available for an interview. And so I ran into the studio and I interrupted the programming and I flipped the switch and went on live on the air with him. We had an interesting exchange. And that was kind of my first political interview of anybody that was of notoriety.
Cliff Connectley travels across America to give an answer to questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
So one of the reasons I believe that God exists.
Join him for Give Me an Answer, weekdays on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. We needed this guy on for a longer amount of time. Delighted to have with us today Gary Ingraham. He's the co-founder of Love Truth Network, a national ministry that equips pastors and Christian leaders to help restore relational and sexual wholeness and biblical identity. He's come out of all of that. He does have a website, loveandtruthnetwork.com, and he's author of a fascinating book, his story, Am I Gay? ? Coming out of cultural Christianity and LGBTQ plus identity into authentic faith in Jesus. And there's a picture of the cover of the book. Gary, so many questions. I want to come back to when you were desperate, you had enough, you pulled over the side of the road, and you got on your knees. Was the healing instant?
Oh, a great question. And, we often say no, it's a journey, right? I've known a few people, probably 3 out of the hundreds and hundreds of people I know that have come out of the LGBT world to follow Christ, that have had an instant experience with God where he really did do this, massive reorientation. And I often joke that the rest of us hate those 3 people because it's what we all wanted, right? We don't hate them. But my point is we didn't want to go on the long journey of discipleship. We didn't want to go, we didn't want this to be a process. We wanted the instant fix, which is what most of us want. But I'm so grateful today that God led me on a journey of discovery of him, of even of failure and getting back up again and confession and just all the hard stuff that goes along with that. I am so much more mature and settled and feel a sense of strength in who I am as a man made in his image than I ever would have if he had just snapped his fingers and taken away the desires and given me, same-sex desires exclusively. Or opposite sex, yeah.
Roughly how long was that process for you?
Oh, it was a journey of falling forward and falling backward. And I'd say, it was a number of years because I came out of that life. I lived in relationship with Jesus for many years through an experience of tremendous brokenness I won't get into now just because of time. I went back into the LGBT world for a period of time as now an authentic believer and was absolutely miserable, but immediately addicted to what I was doing. And so that took, some time to come out of that as well. And God eventually led me to a church that was modeling the kind of things that Melissa and I, my wife and I, now teach around the country to many churches. It was a place that I really found amongst the men in that church, amongst their men's group. Even the last place I wanted to be was in a men's group, a Christian men's group, because I was expecting shame and ridicule and all the things I'd experienced in the past. But God used these guys in many ways to refather me in my mid-30s. And eventually I went on staff with that church and worked for them for 12 years. So it's amazing. And I went on staff. They knew full well, and they saw God's work in my life. So it was a long journey. But by the way, Perry, just to be clear, I still experience some same-sex attraction. My wife still experiences some same-sex attraction, but it doesn't rule our lives. But I never want people to think that it just, again, God snapped his fingers and it's all gone. But it's something that I absolutely can walk in freedom from. I love my wife. I love my boys. I love being a biological father, a spiritual father. I never want to go back to where I once was, but it doesn't mean that there aren't still ways that I can be tempted.
Well, as Paul said, found out that God's grace is sufficient.
That's right.
Okay. I want to come back to the other part of your passion here, and that's the church and the church's response, and quite frankly, sensitivity to all of this. I don't know. Yes. I think the church, quite frankly, struggles with drawing the line and loving at the same time. That blurs. Yes. That just really blurs. And so what do? We do nothing. And yet, a youth pastor today is confronted with this, especially with transitional things going on. They're no longer doing car washes and barbecues. I mean, they're dealing with kids that are transitioning. I mean, it's just a crazy time. So how do we draw a line and how do we love?
Well, that's a question I get asked all the time, basically, is exactly that. How do I love well, but not affirm behavior? Mm-hmm. And that's a great question. And it's one that we need to lean into. And the truth is, those two things are completely possible. Now, the love that we have, if we're not affirming and celebrating, even when we're being genuinely loving and pouring ourselves out and caring for people, the kind of activists in the LGBT space would encourage and push back that even that is hateful. The idea that you're affirming a person, you love a person, if you're not affirming their behavior and how they identify, then you're being hateful. So I think as Christians, we need to not get bogged down by, frankly, the propaganda of that kind of nonsense. And we need to love well. We need to be really prayerful about the way we are with others, whether it's a son or a daughter or a loved one, a coworker, whatever. We need to be really prayerful about that God would open up opportunities for us to share with them, and also would knit our hearts together so that I can really share from a place of relationship with them. But I think that's, we can love the person without affirming their behavior. And I've seen that happen over and over and over again. And the enemy lies to us and tells us, well, that's impossible. And so, as you said, Perry, we just kind of sit back and do nothing. But then the church, the one place on the planet that has genuine answers and the power of transformation through the authority of Jesus Christ, is the one organization that's saying the least about sexuality and identity.
Yeah, and it's the one that ends up being the most embarrassing.
Oftentimes, yes. And yet I've seen such beautiful things come out of the church when the church does this well. One of the things that's really true is when a church learns how to minister well in the area of ministering in LGBT, when the tide comes in, all the boats rise. When a church can do that well, it can do almost anything well when it comes to ministering to anyone. And so this isn't just some fringe. Obviously LGBT is no longer fringe. We shouldn't have treated it that way in the church to begin with, but it's really taken over society in so many ways. But if we can minister well in that space, it really elevates our potential to minister in any capacity.
Yeah. Before I run out of time, part of your outreach is helping parents as well. And
Sure.
what I realize got a short time here, but what can you give in a way of parental advice if a child is starting to lean towards the gay community?
Well, we do a summit on parenting to thrive, and the two parts of that are on prevention and on recovery. And you're talking about kind of tilting maybe toward the recovery side, but we need to be talking a lot more about, for young dads, for young moms, especially dads, how can you affirm and bless the identity of your sons and daughters? How can you really pour into them at young ages the positive characteristics of being made a boy or a girl in God's image? How can we pour into prevention so that recovery is not even necessary? That would be the goal. It doesn't mean that always works, but it's the best ground to prevent kids going off into all kinds of confusion around identity. But for those that are starting to be concerned for their child, what I would definitely say is never shame them. Never shame a son or a daughter who are maybe have interests that you feel like are kind of opposite sex interests or whatever. I think you should be prayerful about that. I think you need to be a team as a mom and dad and really seek out some counsel and help and support from a ministry like mine, or Restored Hope Network is another national organization. Seek out some input and some resources for your particular situation. Don't just wait and hope that this is a phase or that things get better.
The other thing I've noticed is that churches that pre-decide how they're going to handle this really creates the guardrails from getting off emotionally. In other words, they create a white paper's position for the church on what we're going to do when, so to speak. In other words, we're going to love, but we're also not going to condone. I mean, if that is pre-decided, it seems like to me that would be a real asset.
Well, I agree that that is an asset, but I also, right along with that, the church needs to look at sexual brokenness holistically. And instead of splitting off LGBT, the truth is the church is full of men and women dealing with pornography addiction, and even pastors and other forms of sexual sin. So we need to treat this holistically and invite people on the journey with us.
That's good. That's good, too. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for your time. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, check out Gary's website, loveandtruthnetwork.com, and there's a picture of the website, and then his book, Am I Gay? ? Coming out of cultural Christianity and the LGBTQ plus identity into authentic faith in Jesus. By the way, Gary, do you go into churches and hold seminars? What do you do?
Oh, yeah. That's one of the main things I do. I travel all around the country. I just got back from a 4-week extended ministry trip in the Northeast. So, yep, right across the country, I come in and do in-person training and equipping of staff, the entire church, weekend ministry events, as well as online training.
Okay, and connect for you for that through the website?
That's correct, yep.
All right, loveandtruthnetwork.com. Check it out. Thank you, Gary. God bless you, friend.
Thank you. Bless you.
Excursions, you feel the power of the mighty Rogue River as you take in the sights and sounds of nature, journey through Hellgate Canyon, and adventure through the breathtaking wilderness.